Before the leader asks the next girl her category, Jenna grabs the paintball gun, walks up to the podium. The leader looks perplexed, then horrified, when Jenna puts the barrel of the rifle to his crotch and pulls the trigger point blank. Whoosh! Chief wails, falls to the floor. Jenna feels figures lurching toward her. She takes the gun and whoosh! A paint pellet slams one guy in the face. Whoosh! Another point blank in the chest. Both are on the floor. Seeing what's happening, the other men start pushing out of the basement, jamming the stairwell. Jenna picks up one of the other paintball guns and starts blasting them, screaming, "What category?" Jenna is yanked out of the memory when she sees the police lights as she pulls up Connecticut Avenue. The front awning of the District Inn is bordered with yellow and black tape. 3 patrol cars crouch in the lot, bathed in blue from the strobes. She's come to the hotel because of its reputation. A dangerous place nestled bizarrely in an affluent enclave in upper northwest D.C. The neighbors have rallied against the hotel. It's had 4 murders in the past year, to no avail. It's not far from Jenna's own house, and coming here has spared her having to venture to the city to find a place that takes cash and doesn't require ID. Jenna drives past the unsightly yellow building and finds a parking space on Albemarle Street. She took Billy's number from Willow so she could let him know where to find his Jeep. She'll see if she can find a payphone. The District Inn might have one to cater to its clientele. Prostitutes and drug dealers, the rare few who still favor payphones. Jenna walks confidently on the sidewalk, past the Flagship Car Wash, the Burger King, the Zips dry cleaner, and stops at the perimeter. She's dog-tired after the 3-hour return drive, and she probably looks it. But nothing a district cop on the night shift will give a second look. The officer manning the perimeter gives her a weary once-over. "I'm staying at the hotel. Can I go in yet?" The officer shrugs, lifts the yellow band of tape. She strolls inside the lobby. It's covered in a sickly haze from fluorescence. The guy working the reception desk wears a cheap suit and has a lazy eye, which seems fitting. He's watching the cops outside, who seem to be wrapping things up. "Eventful night," Jenna says. The guy turns his good eye to her. He seems surprised, perhaps because it's 2:30 a.m. and she's not a prostitute. "I need a room for the night." The guy nods, asks for a credit card. "I'd prefer to pay with cash if that works." She puts down 3 $100 bills, a tiny portion of the cash she took with her from the lockbox. The sign on the door says $200 for a single, a steal in D.C., where rooms average at least $500 a night. She probably won't think it's a bargain when she sees the room. The clerk sighs, frowns at the bills. $300 ain't gonna cover it if you steal something." "What could there possibly be to steal?" Jenna asks. The man chuckles. "Oh, I don't know. The TV, towels." Jenna puts another 100 on the counter. "1 more of those," the guy says. "And you gotta be out by 10 in the morning when my shift ends." "Deal," she says, slapping another bill on the counter. She takes the only elevator to the 5th floor. The ugly carpet in the hallway smells of rug cleaner and mold. And she's thinking maybe it would have been worth the risk to go somewhere nicer in Bethesda. But it's safer if she doesn't register, doesn't use credit cards, in case her aliases have been breached. Inside, the room is exactly as one would expect. Heavy curtains with a layer of dust, floral bedspread, stained carpet. But she's so tired it doesn't matter. She needs a shower and some sleep. She turns on the television and finds Channel 7, the local 24-hour news station. It's not live, she knows. The news is on a loop in between infomercials. There's a story about the shooting downtown at the Capitol Grill. Fear gripped downtown this afternoon as shots were fired near a popular D.C. restaurant where tech billionaire Artemis Templeton was dining, the newscaster says. An image of Artemis's bald head appears on the screen. Templeton, a pioneer in the early days of social media technology, and who in recent years has focused on everything from next-gen artificial intelligence to e-commerce, is number 3 on Forbes' list of the richest tech titans. It's unclear whether Templeton was a target of the shooter. Both police and Templeton have declined to comment. The report goes on. An officer has a nasty leg wound after being injured by some type of weapon. Police are looking for 2 white females who are persons of interest. Jenna presses mute on the remote, then strips down. The shower is hot and feels wonderful. The water pressure is surprisingly good in the shower tub combo, and she doesn't even mind the smell of the cheap mini bar of soap. She breathes in the steam, her mind jumping about to 1,000 variations of the same questions. Who wants Artemis Templeton dead, and why? And more important, does Jenna also have a target on her back, or was she merely considered collateral damage to the hit on Artie? She breaks unexpectedly into a crying jag, thinking about her family. She needs to stop. Get it together. She can't help them if she isn't focused. Sabine's voice comes to her. Focus on nothing but the mission. That's what she'll do. Tomorrow will be a big day. After the shower, she gets between the sheets, careful not to touch the bedspread, imagining the horrors a blacklight would reveal. Pounding music seeps through the walls, the guests next door partying. Why not? The murder victim's likely at the morgue by now. She unmutes the television. The news has moved to footage of a mining accident in West Virginia. A local reporter holds a microphone to a man's face. We have sensors that picked up a problem. The pressure in the mine changed consistent with an explosion. An explosion? Yes. Mines often capture methane gas, and that can be extremely dangerous if there's any kind of ignition or spark. It's odd here because the mine isn't operational. It's refurbished and mostly used for the television show The Miners, so it's surprising, but still possible there was a buildup of gas. Jenna half listens. A TV producer evidently was in the mine at the time of the explosion. A rescue team miraculously found him alive. Remarkably, someone is having a worse day than even Jenna. She falls asleep before she hears the rest of the report.
Chapter 25. Donnie. I'm scared, Benny. It'll be okay. What if she doesn't want to see me? She will. Benny gazes at the house with the dead lawn and bed sheets for curtains, his expression not matching his words. What if there's bad guys in there? Don't worry. Benny lifts his shirt, revealing the gun tucked in the waistband. I thought you got rid of that. Donnie's mind flashes to the shallow grave, the grisly scene from last night, something that he'll never be able to scrub from his memories no matter how high he gets. Benny doesn't answer. He walks up the cracked sidewalk, opens the front door, which isn't locked. There's a hole where the knob used to be. The door creaks open, and the place is dark. Someone groans from the light coming in. Nico had stolen their files from the cabinet in Mr. Brood's office. This is the address on Donnie's paperwork, but maybe it's the wrong place. There's a stench in the air. Benny takes the lead, pretending not to be terrified. Bodies litter the floor. They're not dead, but might as well be. Why would his mom live in such squalor? He knows why, but wants to pretend he doesn't. Benny crouches over and says something to a man sitting on the floor. His legs are crossed, hands in a prayer position, like some insane Buddha. The man doesn't say anything, but points upstairs. Benny walks slowly up the creaky steps. They're soft from damp and rot. Donnie looks up and sees there's a section of the roof missing. The drywall has mostly been removed from the walls. Copper pipe bandits. Benny looks at Donnie like he's having second thoughts. You know what? Let's get out of here, Benny says. She's probably not here. Donnie doesn't believe him. I want to say goodbye before we go. They're leaving Chestertown for Philly to start over. Donnie leads the way upstairs, light from a hole in the roof illuminating the stairwell. When he enters the bedroom, he sees something that brings him back to when he was a young boy. The tattoo on the nape of the woman's neck. A butterfly. But today he's not lying beside her, spooning, cuddling. He's watching the head bob up and down. the butterfly folding with the movement of her neck as the woman kneels before the man with his pants at his knees, his eyes closed, head back. Benny turns, takes Donnie by the elbow to guide him out, but before he's ushered away, Donnie says, "Mom, it's me, Donnie." She doesn't reply, so he says it again. "Mom." The woman's head continues to bob, the man's hand gripping her hair. "Mom," Donnie says louder, but the word is foreign to the woman. As it should be. Donnie tries to shake off the memory as he brushes aside another question from Reeves Rothschild about his family. It's 9 in the morning and they're sitting in a cabana near one of the 8 elaborate swimming pools on the grounds of the Fontainebleau. As always, it's a beautiful morning in Miami. Blue sky, sunshine, 80 degrees. "I told you I don't want to talk about my childhood. Next question." The young writer frowns. He's hunched over at his laptop, looking peaked, a man who's experiencing his first hangover from a car bomb. "I get it, I do, but I think it adds some color if we can say how a kid from Fort Payne, Alabama ends up in Chestertown, Pennsylvania, and how that led you to Philly and then Los Angeles with Tracer's bullet." Donnie is spared having to answer when one of the hotel workers, he thinks they call them cabana boys, appears. He's holding a small box. "Mr. Danger, you have a delivery." The man hands him the package. "Hot damn! For once Mickey came through for me. A new phone." It's the first time the band's manager has ever given Donnie concierge treatment, saving most of it for Tom. Donnie opens the box. He turns on the device, a flip phone that's already activated. "He must have had a time machine to find you that," Reeves says. Donnie gives him a narrow-eyed smile. "Maybe you should call the FBI about that lady from last night." Donnie made the mistake of telling Reeves about the woman from the beach. "What's the point? I'm not sure it's the same lady the agent showed me. I wasn't in the best frame of mind." Reeves looks clammy himself, so that part he clearly gets. "Still, it could help with your friend's case." He's right, and Donnie knows he's avoiding thinking about Benny. He fights the grief and pain by wiping his mind of the matter. He's always been good at denial or compartmentalization or whatever they called it at that treatment center. And the truth, whenever he thinks about Benny, he feels a weight in his chest, an insatiable need to get high. It makes him ashamed, since that's the opposite of what Benny would want. "They already arrested somebody, so I'm not sure it matters." Reeves frowns. All right, damn, Hemingway, you're a pushy SOB. "I'm sorry, it's not my place to lighten up, amigo, you're right." So much so that Donnie decides that he can't avoid it any longer. He needs to reach out to Mia, Ben's widow. Widow. The word hits him like a gut punch. He opens his new flip phone and dials the number from memory. It goes to voicemail. "Mia, it's me, Donnie. Please call me, dear." He leaves his number and hangs up. "Where were we?" he asks Reeves. "I've got some good stories from when we toured Japan. This one time we all got back to the hotel at like 4 in the morning and our rhythm guitarist Walker goes to his room and for some damn reason he decides to take a bath. He falls asleep with the water running. One of our roadies was in the room on the floor below and woke up because it was like a torrential rain coming down in his room." Donnie barks a laugh. Reeves is taking notes, but he's not smiling. He's not too interested in the on-the-road partying stories. They're interrupted by the purr of the flip phone. A Philadelphia area code is on the caller ID. "Mia, darling, thanks for calling me back so quickly," Donnie answers. There's a long silence. Ben's wife has never liked Donnie, but he's Ben's best friend, Belle's godfather, so she tolerates him. Finally, she speaks. "Don't call here again, Donnie." "Wait, what? What's going on, Mia? I don't—"
"He told me what you did. This is your fault."
"Mia, please, I don't—" She disconnects the line. Donnie stares at nothing, dumbfounded. "Everything okay?" Reeves asks, a concerned look on his face. Donnie sits quietly, processing. What in the hell? He can't ignore the ache in his chest over Ben's death anymore, can't pretend that he can pick up the phone and the Honorable Robert Benjamin Wood will drop everything if Donnie needs something. Can't pretend that he didn't hear what Mia said. He told me what you did. This is your fault. Donnie says, "You're a writer, so you're good at research, right?" "I'm okay, I guess," Reeves says. "I need you to find out the details for Ben Wood's funeral. Can you do that?" "Sure, he was a public figure, so it shouldn't be hard." "Good, do it. Then go pack your stuff." Reeves cocks his head to the side. "We're going to Philly."
Chapter 26. Jenna. Jenna is out of the District Inn by 10 as promised. Behind the hotel, there is an off-brand rental car place, so she decides to risk using one of the credit cards. If any of her other identities are compromised and someone is tracking her cards, at least she'll be mobile in the rental car and not a sitting duck in a hotel room. She rents a Toyota Corolla. You can't get more ubiquitous than that. And heads to DC's Kalorama neighborhood. She's driven by the address only once in the 3 years since she saw the familiar face in Washingtonian magazine. The story was about the wedding of the ambassador to Brazil to his exotic-looking French-born bride. It was just like Sabine to hide out in the open, taking a Valerie Plame-like gig. The magazine did a spread of the couple's Tony home, so on a lark, one day after picking up Lulu from ballet class in Cleveland Park, Jenna cruised through Kalorama, and there it was, the house from the photo shoot on Tracy Place. And today, what seems like a lifetime later, she sits in a Toyota staring at the 1920s Colonial. She considers going up to the door and knocking, but there's probably security. And in any event, it's not like Sabine would come to the door. She'd have staff. Jenna thinks of that first day on the private jet, Sabine quietly assessing 15-year-old Jenna, a flight attendant wearing a skimpy uniform, placing food trays in front of both of them. Jenna had been stubborn, terrified about what was going on. But she'd also been hungry, and the food looked delicious. Not like the airplane food that time her parents had taken her to Disneyland. It was some type of fancy fish, displayed beautifully. She reached her fingers onto the plate, but Sabine slapped her hand hard. "We might as well start now," she said in that French-Russian accent. "A woman with manners, breeding, gets what she wants." "I don't want anything from you," Jenna told her. She reached for the sharp steak knife on the tray. This amused Sabine. "Mon chéri, if you think you're better with a knife." She tapped her own steak knife with her index finger. "Go right ahead." Her smile faded. "Otherwise, sit up straight and do what I do." That's what Jenna learned in the first lesson of her training, which later included not only etiquette, but also communication skills, exuding old money confidence, and murdering someone without leaving a trace. Jenna startled by the hard knock on the window of the Corolla. A Goliath of a man is staring at her suspiciously. Through the glass, he says, "Can I help you, ma'am?" Jenna smiles, rolls down the window. Slipping into her yoga mom persona, she says, "Hi, I'm looking for Kalorama Circle. I'm visiting my sister from out of town, and this rental car has no GPS, and I'm so embarrassed my phone's dead." The man doesn't smile back, but he tells her to go up to the stop sign, take a right, follow Belmont, and she won't miss it. He says it quickly, with a beat-it tone in his voice. So she beats it. A van's pulled in front of Sabine's home, and the man walks over to it, signals to the driver to move the vehicle to the street and not use the driveway. Jenna makes a point of not turning her head as she passes the house. But she still sees it. The signage on the side of the van. Kathy's Catering. Jenna smiles as she turns the corner. Of course, it's Friday night in Washington, D.C. Sabine is having a dinner party.
Chapter 27. Nico. Nico's in his trailer. Shannon stands with her iPad clutched in her hand, like always. Shannon is a capable showrunner. She's been doing reality shows for a decade and should be the one filling in as EP while Nico takes some time off. But she likes being behind the scenes. She and her wife keep a low profile generally. Rural West Virginia isn't always the most enlightened place. And Davis, the fuckstick from the network, keeps insisting that he should host the Black after show while Nico recovers. The guy is such a douche. Shannon waits for Nico to finish tapping on his phone, his 7th sports bet since he was pulled to the surface. He looks up at her. She says, "The kid with cancer is scheduled to be on set today. Given everything that's happened, Davis wants me to reschedule with the organization that set it up." He knows this kid is dying, right? Shannon doesn't say anything. She's not keen on getting in the middle. "You can tell Davis I said we're not canceling, and let the cast know that they'd better be there." The teenager's last wish, to meet the cast of The Miners, wouldn't be on Nico's own bucket list, but he sure as hell isn't going to cancel. Shannon walks him through other show issues, and Nico pretends to listen. He wants to make a few more bets before the day gets away from him. When Shannon wraps up, he says, "I need to tell you something." "What's that?" "The mine. It wasn't an accident. Someone tried to kill me." She chuckles. "I suppose it was only a matter of time." There with that asshole thing again. Studying him now, Shannon says, "Oh shit, you're serious?" "Someone pretending to be Roger sent me a text to meet him at Mine B. I thought it was the usual Maverick nonsense, but I called him this morning and he swears he didn't send me a text." "And someone what? Set off an—" Nico nods, cutting her off. "After they impaled me with some weird weapon." He gestures to his shoulder, which is in a sling. She eyes him skeptically, and he gets it. Getting stabbed or shot might make sense, but pierced by a rod of steel projected through a weird weapon that looks like a maglite? Nearly buried alive by an explosion? "It's all gonna leak soon," Nico says. "The sheriff says he'll give me time to duck out of town to avoid the circus, but he can't wait too long. NIOSH and the other government agencies will figure out this wasn't methane buildup, that the explosion was intentional." "Is that why you checked out of the hospital so fast?" He nods again. "Who?" She pauses. "Why?" "I have no idea." Shannon gives him another skeptical look. She's one of the few people who know about Nico's gambling. She says, "The feds have asked for any footage we have from security cameras, so maybe that will identify who it was." Nico doubts it. He doesn't think there are any cameras outside the mine, and he doesn't mention that Maverick told him he'd met a woman that night, a hot tamale from out of town, that she'd gone home with him, and he doesn't remember jack shit from the moment they had a drink at his place. Nothing was stolen, so he didn't think much of it. But Nico wonders if she used Maverick's phone to lure Nico to the mine. "Have you told the network?" Shannon asks. "Nope, you're it." Once the news breaks, they can expect a media onslaught. There'd been an accidental shooting on a movie set in New Mexico a couple years ago, and it stayed headline news for months. "Are you okay?" she asks. "I'm fine," he lies. He thinks of those rats with their red eyes. "You know everyone loves you. You may not remember, but there was a massive crowd at the rescue site. Maverick, Elmo, the lot of them were there. I swear Headboard had tears in his eyes. And there's been an outpouring on Twitter." He shrugs. The cast was there for the cameras. The rest are keyboard junkies who don't even know Nico. He's checked his messages, mostly reporters. His ex, Natalie, hasn't called. I'm going to be off the grid for a few days. Decline interview requests. Request privacy as I recover. I'll draft a statement. Nico nods. Where will you go? He flips his lucky silver dollar, which he isn't so sure is that lucky, and looks at its face. Somewhere I hoped to never return.
Chapter 28. Donnie. Donnie and Reeves sit next to each other on the United flight. It has been a long time since Donnie has flown first class, and it's nice to have some legroom. Though somewhere along the way, the airlines have managed to screw up first class. Back in the day, they'd be in mini cabin-like pods where the seats would recline flat and a divider would make it so you didn't even have to look at the person seated next to you. Now, at least on the flight from Miami to Philadelphia International, it's basically a bigger seat, free wine from a box, and tepid beer. Thanks for buying the tickets, Donnie says to Reeves. You'll get reimbursed, I hope. Me too, Reeves says. The trip was last minute, so he probably didn't anticipate the expense. But don't worry about the money. This gives us a little extra private time so we can work on the book. Donnie nods. The flight attendant offers him a beer and he gladly obliges. Better to make sure whoever pays for their tickets gets their money's worth. So I thought we might step back, take things from the beginning, when you learned how to play guitar. Donnie rests his head back, a smile involuntarily spreading on his face. I was in foster care in Chestertown the first time I ever touched a guitar. Reeves has his laptop out now. On the home screen, there's a photo of a woman. She's in a hospital bed, tubes in her nose with monitors behind her, but she's smiling. A haunting, beautiful smile. Before Donnie asks who she is, Reeves says, You're originally from Fort Payne, Alabama? He's already typing. With an emphasis on the pain, Donnie says, grinning. Reeves doesn't seem amused. How'd you end up so far from home, in Chestertown? Donnie's already told him to drop the questions about his childhood, but Donnie supposes he can throw the guy a bone. You mean, how'd my mom get the idea to move from one of the poorest towns in the South to one of the poorest towns in the Northeast? Reeves doesn't push. The short version is that my mom met a dude who, like all the dudes, convinced her he loved her and we'd be a family if she followed him. She did, we weren't, and next thing I know I'm in foster care and my mom's been arrested. That should be enough red meat for the writer. Reeves types on his laptop, eyes on the screen. Anywho, my first foster family, they were a nice elderly couple, the Jensens. Mr. J played guitar and still noodled around with the church band, and he taught me to play. Gave me my first guitar. I named her Susie. I've still got her. Susie, like the name of your second album. You've done your research, Hemingway. Hot damn, Donnie says, smiling. Reeves keeps typing. Not looking up, he asks, How long were you with the Jensens? Donnie swallows down a lump in his throat. Not long enough. A year? They were a sweet couple, but not in good health. Mr. J had a heart attack and they couldn't take care of me anymore, so I got sent to a group home. Save your house. Mr. J taught me the 4 chords I needed and I took it from there. Is the group house where you met Ben Wood? Reeves asks, taking his chances. Donnie doesn't answer. Instead, he launches into a tired story about the time he got a DUI driving a golf cart on the way to a show in Dublin. He then excuses himself to the restroom. As he tries to target the stream of urine into the small bowl, he's startled by a memory. The 4 of them at the bank of the river, on their knees, the gun barrel put to the back of Donnie's head. Ben's voice echoes in his head. You don't have to be scared anymore, Donnie. A tear rolls down Donnie's cheek. I'm not so sure about that, Benny. I'm not so sure.
Chapter 29. Jenna. Are you Tabitha? The perky woman in a stylish outfit asks. Jenna hesitates, then remembers that she's using her Tabitha credentials and credit card at Saks Fifth Avenue. She called ahead, asked for an appointment with a stylist. "Nice to meet you," Jenna says, shaking hands. The woman wears a name tag that says Blue. "Your name's Blue?" "How pretty," Jenna says. "Do not get me started. My last name is Flowers. I'm Blue Flowers. My mom was into gardening." Jenna smiles. Blue Flowers continues. "I'm lucky she wasn't into astronomy. Probably would have named me Uranus." She offers a bright smile and says, "Follow me." The store has a strange configuration, like it used to be something else, a 3-story old-time bank. Nestled in the Friendship Heights neighborhood that straddles the D.C.-Maryland border, it's the only high-end store in the area. The area used to be synonymous with luxury retail. The Mazza gallery shops, Neiman Marcus, Dior, Louis Vuitton. But somewhere along the way, there was an exodus, except for Saks. On the walk, Blue says, "Sounds like you've had a day. In town for a big party in Kalorama and the airline lost all your luggage? I mean, girl." "You don't know the half of it." "Well, don't worry. You're going to be the talk of that party when I'm done with you." And for the next 2 hours, Jenna is Vivian Ward in Pretty Woman, trying on expensive dresses, having drinks brought to her, flattery abounding. Blue Flowers is right. Jenna, or Tabitha, looks stunning in the Elie Saab bead-embellished silk gown, the René Calvia satin heels, and the Saint Laurent leather clutch. At the register, Jenna tries not to wince at the $8,498.32 price tag. The cards have high limits, and it's no time to be frugal. As Sabine taught her all those years ago, beauty is a skeleton key that opens almost any door. Don't take my word for it. Studies show beautiful people make more money than smarter people, get better jobs and promotions than more qualified people, and get lighter sentences than other criminals. Throw in some confidence and manners, and there's no place you can't go, invited or not. Tonight, Jenna will test that theory on Sabine herself. With the Saks garment bag hanging in the rental car, Jenna drives up Wisconsin and into Bethesda. There, she stops at Lululemon, where she buys some athletic wear. Black leggings, black tank, and black hooded jacket. A cat burglar couldn't find a better outfit to disappear into the night. Then she walks over to Bethesda Sports on Elm and buys some running shoes. She's been there many times. Willow runs track. The manager is a notorious crank, but today he's distracted by his phone. She's ready now. She'll go back to the District Inn, take an afternoon nap, get her hair and makeup done at Inari, then get dressed for what promises to be an interesting night out.
Chapter 30. Nico. By early afternoon, Nico arrives at O'Leary's Tavern on Erie Avenue in Nicetown, Philadelphia. The bartender, a beefy man in his 40s with dark crescents under his eyes and undoubtedly a baseball bat under the counter, is in deep conversation with a couple of younger guys at the bar. They appear to be discussing cancel culture. "Your generation is so sensitive," the barman says. "Someone says anything that offends you and you've got to go to your safe space. Then all these keyboard twits, overeducated white ladies, the lot of them, try to get you fired from your job." The young guys, a stylishly dressed black man and a white guy with orange stubble that looks like a chin strap, exchange a glance. It's unclear to Nico if they work for O'Leary or are customers. "It's a little more complicated," the stylish guy says. He obviously disagrees with the bartender, but his tone is cautious, respectful. "Yeah, these are O'Leary's boys." The bartender goes on with his monologue. "Everybody's talking about discrimination, but they never mention the Irish and how we get treated." The guy notices Nico, narrows his eyes but finishes the thought. If you miss a day at work 'cause you're hungover, they call it the Irish flu. If you put booze in your coffee, it's an Irish coffee. You have kids close in age, it's Irish twins. Can you imagine if we said stuff like that for your people? He looks at the customers, who both appear to be suppressing eye rolls. Don't forget the Irish goodbye, Nico chimes in, referring to the practice of slipping out of a party without saying goodbye, something Nico's mastered himself. The bartender eyes Nico. What can I get you, friend? I was hoping to talk with Shane. He used to take meetings on Fridays. Nico points to the back room. Shane O'Leary, having watched The Godfather too many times, scheduled Fridays to deal with neighborhood or internal organizational problems. Late with payments? Get in line. Trouble with somebody in the neighborhood? Take a number. Don Corleone he's not, but there's an efficiency about his operation. The bartender regards Nico like he recognizes him, but isn't sure. Who do I say is asking? Nico Atakai. Atakai? Why do I know that name? Nico shrugs. Back in the day, Nico's father worked for Shane O'Leary's father running Book. But Nico wasn't going to get into it with this buffoon. The Atakai name may also be familiar because Nico's father disappeared under mysterious circumstances when Nico was a kid. Rumors were he got sideways with O'Leary Sr., which didn't lend itself to an extended lifespan. Interesting name, the bartender says, not taking the hint. What is that, Mexican or something? Nico's mother told him his grandfather was Native American, but his father didn't give one shit about his ancestry, so who knows? Besides, that's what everybody seems to tell their kids. You've got Native American blood. Nico knows nothing of Native Americans other than that they got royally fucked. He shrugs again. The bartender frowns, like he doesn't like Nico's attitude. But he nods at the red-headed guy with the stupid beard, who saunters off to the back room. The barkeep starts up about cancel culture again, and Nico escapes being drawn into the conversation as the red-headed guy reemerges and gestures for Nico to come back. Straight out of a B movie, O'Leary sits at a table draped in white linen eating his lunch, shepherd's pie by the looks of it, as if to complete the cliché. And there's a line ahead of Nico. The man standing at the table in front of O'Leary is thanking him profusely, and O'Leary's looking bored and waving him away. One of the toughs sitting on stools nearby shows the guy out. The next guy approaches. He's wearing a leather jacket and looks like one of the toughs himself. You know why you're here? O'Leary asks him. The kid is in his 20s and has large biceps, a gold chain hanging outside his tight t-shirt. My dad said you wanted to see me about the weeklies. Is that what your dad, my brother, said? O'Leary flicks a glance to an older guy perched on a stool. The kid nods. His jaw pulses. Here's the thing, Brendan. Your weeklies keep coming up short. Not Vince's, not Sam's, not Toby's. Only yours. I didn't skim, Uncle Shane. I promise O'Leary raises a hand to quiet him. I talked to the boys, to your dad, and everyone says the same thing. Not Brendan. He's a stand-up guy. Gotta be a mistake. He says this in a mocking tone. The kid nods. Your family, so I give you the benefit of the doubt. But your aunt, when your cousin was little, she read all these parenting books. And you know what she always said? Brendan shakes his head. Trust, but verify. Brendan doesn't respond. So, on your last pickups, we marked the bills. O'Leary puts down his fork and knife and pulls out a small penlight from his pocket. Click, 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 click. A blue light goes on and off. I'll make you a deal, Brendan. You get out your money clip, and if none of the bills glow under this light, I'll know you had nothing to do with my missing 20 G's, and I'll give you an apology. Brendan's face is bloodless now. His father shifts on his stool. Or, O'Leary draws out the word, takes a long pause, letting Brendan squirm. Or we agree you owe me 40 G's, and you put your hand flat on the table here. Brendan's father is off the stool now. Shane, we get it! Enough! O'Leary turns to his brother. Shut the fuck up. If he wasn't your son, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. Brendan's Adam's apple bobs up and down. His father lowers back to the stool. O'Leary takes a bite of his food, his eyes not leaving Brendan's. Brendan walks to the table, lays his hand flat on it. Nico thinks he might wet himself. Without warning, O'Leary grips the steak knife and stabs it hard through the top of Brendan's hand so it pins it to the table. Brendan screams in agony but doesn't pull away, doesn't do anything but writhe in pain. O'Leary rises, walks around the table, and presses his forehead aggressively to Brendan's, looks him in the eyes. 40 G's. And if you're ever $1 short again, I'm gonna take off both your hands, feed 'em to my dogs, and then bury you alive at the farm. O'Leary wraps his hand around the handle of the steak knife. Instead of pulling it straight out, he yanks it to the side so it cuts through Brendan's hand. The young man collapses to the floor, Brendan's father and the other toughs coming over, lifting him by the arms, carrying him out, leaving behind a blood trail and tablecloth soaked in red. Sitting back at the table, O'Leary dabs at his mouth with a napkin. Nico, he says with terrifying enthusiasm. To what do I owe the pleasure? Chapter 31. Boys, there's a hero in our midst, O'Leary tells the room. The others look at one another, like they're not sure what O'Leary is talking about. Don't any of you mutts watch the news? This guy, he walks over, grips Nico by the shoulder that's not in the sling, just escaped a frickin' coal mine collapse. The crew nods, impressed. Before Nico can explain why he's there, making sure it wasn't O'Leary who put him at the bottom of that mine, O'Leary directs Nico to follow him. They head out of the back room and to the bar. The bartender is still going on about woke politics, but shushes when he sees the boss. Give us 2 Jamesons, but pack 'em for the road, will you? For the road. Again, before Nico can ask, O'Leary says, I've got an afternoon appointment. If you got the time to join me, we can catch up. Nico feels a cold finger run down his spine. It's not an offer he can refuse. The bartender hands them paper coffee cups with lids, and O'Leary leads Nico outside. There's a black sedan parked illegally right out front. O'Leary presses a key fob, and the Mercedes EQS's lights flash. They both climb inside. Nico's nerves are flaring now. He's relieved when none of O'Leary's boys slip into the back seat, a sure recipe for 2 in the back of the head. Then again, probably not in O'Leary's $100,000 sedan. O'Leary revs the engine, and they're off. Where are we going? Nico finally asks. It's a beautiful day. Thought we'd get some fresh air, he says. It's not a beautiful day. The sky is the color of granite, with intermittent showers. And the bar has ears, O'Leary adds. You never know who's listening. Nico doubts that. O'Leary nearly severed a man's hand 15 minutes ago and surely sweeps the place for bugs daily. O'Leary grips the wheel, zigging and zagging around traffic. The area is filled with tire stores, overgrown lots, and decaying row houses. Old trolley car rails rivet the road, but there haven't been trolleys in years. So, there's something I wanted to talk with you about, Nico says. O'Leary turns, puts a finger to his lips. Let's wait till we get there. Cars have ears, too. Nico doesn't ask where there is, and his gut is roiling. This was a mistake, a miscalculation. If it is O'Leary who sent someone to kill him, he's put himself alone with the guy. They have a history, Nico and Shane, through their dads, and their paths crossed when they were kids, but O'Leary wouldn't hesitate to take Nico out if it was good for business. O'Leary turns up the stereo. It's a pop station, and O'Leary seems to be getting into the Olivia Rodrigo song. He's an odd duck. Not that Nico would ever say that out loud. Nico watches out the window as roadside ministries and murals give way to elegant brownstones bordered by iron gates. A sign says, Penn Treaty Park, and O'Leary veers around and pulls into a lot. Nico looks out at the large open space. Dozens of kites fill the sky. A kite festival by the looks of it. O'Leary parks and they climb out of the vehicle. Standing in the lot, O'Leary says, Don't take this the wrong way, Nico, but I need you to take off your shirt. Nico gets it. O'Leary wants to confirm that Nico isn't wearing a wire. Awkwardly, Nico removes his sling and pulls off his shirt. Damn, that looks nasty, O'Leary says, examining the blood-soaked bandage. Nico makes no reply. But I gotta say, no wonder the girls like you so much, O'Leary adds. Don't worry, I'm not a homosexual, he accentuates each syllable. But a guy can admire another man's abs, am I right? He nods that Nico can put his shirt back on. O'Leary moves to the rear of the car, fishes out the key fob. This could be it, where Nico finds himself in another dark hole, the trunk of a Mercedes. O'Leary opens the hatch, and Nico breathes a sigh of relief. The face of a large red dragon stares up at them. O'Leary removes the kite, unfolds it carefully, and they head out to an open space on the field. Soon the dragon's wings are outstretched, and it's darting through the air. I didn't know you were an enthusiast, Nico says, making small talk now. This day keeps getting stranger. When I was a kid, it was the only good day I remember with my old man, O'Leary says. I come to the kite festival every year. If it wasn't for my numb-nuts nephew skimming from me, I would have been here all morning. Nico nods. No matter how bad the person, we all cling to the days of innocence we remember from our youth. You and your dad ever? Not quite, Nico says. O'Leary nods. It's odd talking about their fathers, since Shane's might be the reason Nico's father disappeared. It remains a mystery Nico has no interest in solving, although there is one aspect to it he never understood. Once Dad was gone, no longer a threat. Why didn't his mother come back for Nico? Shane carefully hands the reins of the kite to Nico. It's then Nico realizes that his hands, his only means of defense, are occupied. But there are too many witnesses for that. No question, Nico could still end up in that trunk with a kite string wrapped around his neck. But not here. Nico navigates the dragon as it tugs the line. He's still in the sling, so it's awkward. but he does not want to crash O'Leary's toy. So, about my, accident. Nico keeps his eyes on the kite, the bright red dragon like a drop of blood staining the clouds, the Benjamin Franklin Bridge in the distance. Yeah, you gonna sue that show? Seems like you could make a pile of cash. I mean, how long were you down there? I suspect you have some back pain and PTSD and other stuff that's tricky to diagnose. Nico's smile, always an angle. What they haven't reported on the news yet is that it wasn't an accident. He pauses, watches for O'Leary's reaction. No shit. Like someone set off a small explosive device. O'Leary chuckles. Who'd you piss off? Nico's mouth is dry. I wanted to make sure it wasn't you. O'Leary barks a laugh. Is that why you came to the bar? He laughs again, smacks Nico on the back. It sends a thunderbolt through Nico's wounded shoulder. Sorry, I can't think of anyone else who... You owe anybody else? Nico shakes his head. Broads? Any husbands pissed off? Or crazy gals you jilted? Nico shakes his head again. O'Leary shakes his head as well. Usually, it's money or broads that will get you killed. He laughs again. I'm glad you find it amusing. O'Leary stares up at the other kites bobbing against the gray sky. We do got a problem, though, he says. What's that? If someone's trying to off you, I need to increase the amount of your payments. If something happens to you, I'll be out a lot of dough. You understand? Nico is so relieved O'Leary isn't after him that he doesn't protest. He's not completely sure O'Leary is being serious, but then again, if he knows O'Leary, he is. O'Leary says, I'm sorry about your friend. Nico doesn't understand. What friend? Oh shit, I forgot. You've been in a hole. Your friend, the one who helped us with that thing. Someone offed him. Nico feels a ripple of something vibrate through him. You mean Ben Wood? The kite takes a plunge, and O'Leary grabs the strings from him. They caught the guy. One of the mopes he locked up. I think the news said the funeral's tomorrow. Gonna be a big production. That's why I thought you were in town. Nico doesn't say anything, quickly flicks away a tear on his cheek, still watching the tail of the kite dance in the sky.
Chapter 32. Donnie. Can we meet for dinner tonight? Reeves asks. I hear Jean-Georges is amazing. They're standing in the check-in line at the Four Seasons in Center City, Philadelphia, at the front desk on the 60th floor. For sure, Hemingway. I gotta go see Ben's wife and my goddaughter, then I'm all yours. Reeves nods. I just read a story about Ben. He holds up his phone. He was quite a lawyer before becoming a district court judge. He was on the short list for the federal appellate court. That was Benny. When we were kids, he was always the smart one, and in Chestertown it wasn't exactly cool to be the smart kid at school. But Benny was also 6 foot tall by the time he was 14, so nobody messed with him. The news says he was top of his class at Harvard Law, unanimously confirmed to the federal bench, which is pretty rare. When we were kids, he watched the O.J. Simpson trial, and that was it. It was like when Mr. J gave me my first guitar. We both knew. Donnie smiles. Benny would go around rhyming everything like Johnny Cochran. If the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. If you want some food, don't shade Mr. Brood. Donnie shakes his head and smiles. One of the stories I read said he was adopted by a cop who arrested him. Donnie nods. When we ran off to Philly, we didn't have any money, and Benny went into the ShopRite and stole a loaf of bread and some peanut butter. The cop who arrested him was an amazing lady. Her kids were grown, so she let us crash at her house. After I joined the band, we hit the road, but Benny stayed behind. She ended up adopting him. That's incredible. Donnie gives a sentimental smile. That was Benny. To meet him was to fall in love with him. Why'd you guys leave the foster home? The hotel clerk calls Donnie up to the counter, sparing him from holding back the true answer. After Mr. Brood went missing, they knew Savior House would be closed down and the foster kids placed in new homes, separated. Exactly what happened. Donnie secures his room key and heads toward the elevator bank. He sees a father lifting his young son to sit on the railing that separates the lobby from a coffee shop inside the atrium. The boy balances on the metal railing and Donnie feels a wave of terror rip through him. A memory surfaces, his feet dangling over the black water slapping the side of the cruise ship below. Everything okay? Reeves asks, snapping Donnie out of it. Sure thing, partner, Donnie says, trying to steady his breathing. Sure thing. An hour later, he stands at the doorstep of the beautiful mansion in Chestnut Hill. The woman at the door looks similar to when they first met in Benny's dorm room in Cambridge. Smooth, dark skin with large eyes framed by full eyebrows and a mouth that curls upward even when she isn't happy. But she's even more beautiful, more elegant now. Mia had not been equally impressed with Donnie back in the day. In her defense, he'd been erratic, cocaine speed-talking. Benny, then president of the Harvard Law Review, didn't seem to mind. And from that first day forward to when she'd wagged her finger in his face about the bachelor party, to her head shake at his best man's speech at the wedding, to her grudging agreement that Donnie be godfather to Belle, Mia tolerated rather than liked Donnie. Today, she stands at the door, lips pinched tight, eyes red and puffy. Can I, come in? Donnie asks. Their home is as he remembered, classic, expensive. They were the it couple on the Northwest Philly cocktail party scene, the prominent lawyer and daughter of a wealthy business leader, the dashing federal judge. There'd been stories about Mia and Ben in the papers, Ben told him. Philadelphia's elite ate up the aristocrat marrying the poor kid from Chestertown. Ben didn't care about such things. He shrugged off the casual racism he encountered at the country club or in the courthouse when he wasn't wearing the robe and wasn't recognized as his honor. Mia reluctantly lets Donnie inside. In the living room, the television is on a news channel. Mia says, I'd offer you a drink, but you're not staying. I want you out of here before Belle is back with the nanny from the park. Mia, I don't understand. Why are you— Save it, Donnie. You're clearly upset, but talk to me. What did I do? Why are you— This is your fault. Whoa. He holds up his hands. What in tarnation are you talking about? I loved Benny. I love Belle. I don't know what you're talking about. She falls onto the sofa, tears spilling from her eyes. There's a cocktail glass nearby, and he realizes she's had a few. He lowers slowly to the chair opposite. She takes a pull of her drink, sniffles. Mia, darling, I don't understand. Finally, he told me. Told you what? What are you talking about? Donnie hates this, pretending, but he's not ready to come clean. That you did something horrible when you were kids. Donnie shakes his head, continues to play dumb, but an icy chill crawls up his back. He needs to shake it off, fall back into rock star Donnie. I'm afraid I'm lost here. I honestly don't understand. Someone was blackmailing him. Did you know that? Now Donnie's genuinely confused. Blackmail? What on earth would anyone have to blackmail Ben about? He was the straightest arrow I've ever— Don't! She cuts him off, the word laced with poison. Donnie tilts his chin up, scratches the whiskers on his neck. I need you to back up. Who was blackmailing Benny? Why would— I don't know who, she says. He told me some bad people knew something about him, about when you were kids. Something you all did. Donnie's mind jumps to a dark, rainy night, the patch of misery surrounded by woodland. What did they want? Money?
If it was just about money, it wouldn't have eaten him up so much, she says.
Donnie flashes back to their last phone call. Ben didn't seem like himself, said work was stressful, but he didn't say anything else. Or did Donnie simply miss it? Perhaps Ben hadn't trusted his on-again, off-again sober friend with a secret. His heart sinks at the thought of Ben needing to talk but not wanting to risk telling something important to a fuck-up like Donnie. Mia continues.
We gave them money, but what they really wanted was for him to fix a case.
Donnie understands now. Some criminal got dirt on a prominent judge. A get-out-of-jail-free card. Do you think that's why he was in Chestertown? Why he was... You tell me. She stares at him with something worse than hate in her eyes. Did you tell the police? Donnie asks. She scoffs.
And let that be how he's remembered.
The nanny appears at the door and Mia snaps to attention.
You need to go. Out the back. I don't want Belle seeing you.
Mia, please. I just want to see her and
go now. And I never want to see you again. Please, go.
Instead of pleading any more, he slips out the back. Heartbroken and bewildered.
Chapter 33. Nico. Nico stands outside the elementary school as kids stream out of the building, a sea of shrieks and backpacks. A group of parents look on from the outskirts. Nico doesn't appear to be drawing any attention. A few looks from the moms, but no one here watches the minors. Unless they're wondering about the sling, it's probably his handsome face. He's found that his square jaw and boy-next-door clean-cut attractiveness tend to elicit the benefit of the doubt. It's a strange thing how the sheer luck of genetics draws such advantages. A handsome stranger gets more curiosity than suspicion. Ask Ted Bundy. As parents and kids reunite, Nico keeps his eyes on the brick schoolhouse, and he finally sees her. She's in a cotton dress, the sun breaking through a crack in the clouds for the first time the entire day, bathing her in a yellow glow. She's directing a group of students to the bus lines in the lot. He smiles, remembering how she used to lament bus duty. She's a special person, Natalie. You have to be, to teach. Between the overbearing parents who all think their spawn are gifted, the administrators who've never spent a day in the classroom yet constantly change the curriculum, the politicians obsessed with what you can't teach, and having a master's degree but being micromanaged like teenage hourlies at McDonald's. Natalie takes a little boy by the hand and guides him to the bus. Step 9. Make direct amends to persons we harmed wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. But what can he possibly do? He stole from her, opened credit cards in her name, lied repeatedly. When she broke off the engagement, the first thing he did was pawn the ring and bet it all on an Eagles game. But his real offense, as she'd put it, was always having one foot out the door. He contemplates leaving, but he remembers the fear he felt in the mine, thinking he might never see her again, thinking he'd never get to apologize. What if he never made it out? Now another crippling thought. What if that woman with the bizarre weapon is set on finishing the job? He's had several texts with Roger about the mysterious woman. The one who possibly drugged Roger and sent Nico a text from his phone to meet at the mine. His description of her is classic Maverick. Lots about her breasts and legs, little about her face. She and Roger met at the crew's favorite hangout, a bar called The Hole, so maybe someone caught the woman on social media. Nico makes a mental note to search his feeds later. Natalie is walking across the blacktop back to the building, her hair dancing in a breeze that has come out of nowhere to make her even more beautiful in this moment. If he's going to approach, he needs to do it now. The area clears as fast as it became crowded. Nico walks toward her. When she's almost to the door, he calls out, "Natalie!" His voice sounds weak in the wind. He tries again, louder now. "Nat!" She turns, squints like she's looking for who called her name. He remembers she's not keen on parents calling her by her first name, lest their kids pick up the habit. Then her eyes lock on him. She stands there, not smiling, but not turning away either. He reaches her. She's even more beautiful. The freckles across her cheeks, the dimple on her left cheek. She looks around, as if concerned that others might be watching. "Nico, what are you—" "I'm in town for business." "Business," she echoes the word, skeptically. He nods. "They sent you on a business trip less than a day after rescuing you from a coal mine?" She eyes the sling. So she has seen the news, and his heart sinks again. She never checked in on him. But what did he expect? Get over yourself. "I thought we might talk," he says. She studies him. "I'm not sure there's anything to say. Look, I know this is weird, but I nearly died and—" "And what?" she cuts in. "Now you want to talk? Make it up to me? Let's save each other the time. I'm over it. I forgive you, or whatever it is you need to hear." Her features are hard now. Tears threaten to fill her eyes. "Nat, please, just give me a—" "What? Give you a chance? That ought to be the tagline for your stupid TV show. For your life." "Did you get the money I sent?" "I got it. Not before my credit score hit 400, not before all the stress and sleepless nights worrying I'd be evicted from the apartment." He wants to say sorry, but says nothing. "I'm in a good place now, Nico. I'm glad you're okay and survived, but I can't do this again. If we could just talk, let me—" She cuts him off with a shake of the head. "I've changed," he says. She guffaws at that, collects herself. "You've changed, have you?" She glowers at him. "The FBI was just here asking about you, but you've changed?" She turns, opens the door to the school. Before she disappears inside, she turns back to him. "Goodbye, Nico. Don't ever come here again."
Chapter 34. Jenna. An evening breeze at her back, Jenna slinks through the majestic doors of Sabine's elegant home in Kalorama, the security detail not giving her a second look in the outrageously expensive silk gown. The party is filled with portly men in black tie, looking decidedly unlike James Bond, and their more attractive spouses. A server carrying a silver tray offers Jenna a filet mignon bite. That's when she realizes she hasn't eaten in more than 24 hours. She takes the toothpick and tiny napkin and forces herself not to devour it like Cookie Monster. Her mind trips to Lulu, a stab of despair cutting into her. But she fights it. She needs to focus. The sound of a cello fills the room. In the back corner, a woman moves the bow skillfully, eyes closed, lost in the music. Jenna looks around the room. It's definitely an ambassador's party. Even in the tuxes, the men wear those obnoxious flag pins on their lapels, like all the politicos in D.C. No fashion-forward pretty boys here. Jenna plucks a champagne flute from another server and takes a sip. A small one. Her stomach is nearly empty, and she needs to be sharp. She maneuvers through the crowd, her dress flowing as she walks. Then she hears it. The familiar laugh, the French accent with its hints of Russian. Sabine is leaning into a tall man, likely saying something cheeky. He bellows a laugh. Jenna watches for a long moment. More partygoers approach Sabine and exchange air kisses. It will be like this all night. Jenna knows. Sabine is a magnet, and she has aged like an expensive whiskey. Jenna takes a deep breath and sets the glass on a tray as she joins the half-circle of people surrounding Sabine. She hits Sabine with a piercing stare, and Sabine doesn't miss a beat. "Genevieve," she says warmly. "I'm so glad you made it, mon chéri." More cheek air kisses. Jenna gives a 1,000-watt smile, then says to the group, "Would you all mind if I borrow Sabine?" The others assent, and Sabine gives a tight smile of her own, the first break in the facade. But she recovers quickly. "Yes, darling," she says. "I must show you the piece I told you about. It's in the master suite." She excuses herself and leads Jenna through the crowd and past a burly man guarding the foot of a grand staircase. Sabine glides up the stairs, not a care in the world. They pass through 2 imposing doors and into a master suite that seems to have come out of an interior design magazine. Sabine shuts the doors, and when she turns around, her eyes flash at the sight of Jenna's handgun. Sabine lets out a sound of amusement from her throat. "Why?" Jenna asks. "You're going to have to give me more than that, love." She's giving Jenna a lazy glance, a look Jenna remembers too well from her teen years. "You said I was out. Clean. But someone tried to—" Sabine makes a tisk, tisk, tisk noise and shakes her head. "I'm disappointed in you." Jenna shakes her head, annoyed. "Do you think you'd be standing here if I sent someone for you?" It's a fair point. One that's been gnawing at Jenna since the hitter made the first mistake with the glare of the rifle scope. Then the woman with the weird weapon. The mode of execution is too flashy for Sabine's taste, too unreliable for the corporation. "Let me guess," Sabine says. "You were part of that mess downtown yesterday, with Artemis Templeton?" If she's lying, she's damned good. But the problem is, she is. "I'm no fan of that bold savant, but I have no reason to kill him," Sabine says. "Put the gun down, darling." Jenna doesn't acquiesce. "And honestly, I taught you better than this. The safety is on." Jenna doesn't fall for it. Her eyes remain set on Sabine. One look away could be the last thing she ever does. "Nice try." Sabine smiles. "I've been doing this since you took me when I was 15, Jenna says, showing she was offended at the cheap effort to distract her. "I'm aware. And I also noticed you're in that lovely gown instead of working at the Walmart in Chestertown. If not you, then who?" This time Jenna does lower the gun. The truth is that if Sabine wanted her dead, she'd be dead. And now, one yelp from Sabine will cause men with big guns to charge through those doors. They knew about my background, about the corporation, tricked me into thinking you all ordered me to take him down. I have no idea. I've been out of the game myself, but there's no way our friends would go after Templeton. I may be out, but I'd know about that. Sabine walks toward a mirror on the wall. She wipes a finger at her eye makeup. "It was a young woman," Jenna says. "Pretty. She uses a strange weapon. She threatened my family, then came after me. I need to find her." Sabine spins around. "No idea, dear. You know the contractors are always changing. I don't keep up anymore." "She's not a girl you stole from some godforsaken group home like Savior House?" Sabine lets out an exasperated sigh. "She's not one of ours. Really, darling. You're not a teenager anymore, so stop acting like it." Jenna presses her lips together. Sabine still knows how to push her buttons. "She's not one of ours," Sabine repeats. "And for the record, you're the only one we ever trained from Savior House. I only recruited the extraordinary, the special. Flattery. Typical Sabine mind games. And probably a lie. Annie, Marta, and the others didn't disappear into thin air. I need you to find out who the hitter is, Jenna says. She threatened my family. I told you. I'm out. And I don't keep up with the competition. She offers a rueful smile like she has a secret. I don't keep up. But my successor surely knows the current market. And who's that? The smile returns. Oh, darling, you haven't kept up at all, have you? Jenna shakes her head. Why would she? All she has wanted is to forget. You know him well. Her eyes flash. No. The smile widens on Sabine's lips. Tell you what, for old time's sake, you can find him at 18 Highland Farm in Potomac. But don't you dare tell him you heard it from me. Jenna believes her. Sabine's taking too much pleasure in all this to not be telling the truth. Lovely seeing you. Jenna turns to leave. And mon chéri? Sabine says. Jenna looks back. Do be careful. He still has the dogs.
Chapter 35. Donnie. Donnie leans over his whiskey at the Four Seasons bar, his mind reeling from his visit with Mia. Someone had been blackmailing Benny, and Benny hadn't trusted Donnie enough to tell him about it. Mia's angry face comes to him. Something you all did. He's torn from his thoughts by someone calling his name. He turns and sees Reeves. Donnie's not in the mood for story time. On the other hand, he doesn't want to think about Mia or Benny or any of it. How'd it go? Reeves asks. Reeves is a perceptive guy, an occupational hazard, Donnie supposes, and must have sensed the visit to Mia might not go well. Donnie shrugs, takes a drink from the highball glass. I'm sorry, the writer says. I know it must be hard. It's all right. Mia never liked me, and she's pretty devastated. Reeves takes the stool next to him. The bartender hovers over and asks him if he wants a drink, but Reeves declines. We can take the night off on the book, if you'd like, he says. Donnie should agree. He should go up to his room, have a big cry, and get some sleep. But instead, he decides he needs rock star Donnie tonight. It's okay, Hemingway. We've got work to do. He stands, signals to the bartender to charge the drinks to his room, and presses out of the place. Where are we going? Reeves asks, trailing behind. As the bellhop holds open a cab door, Donnie says, To where it all began for Tracer's bullet. Inside the cab, Reeves looks like he still hasn't recovered from the night before. They make their way through downtown Philadelphia traffic to Chinatown. The cabbie pulls in front of a worn opera house-looking building. Above the arched entrance is a red neon sign that reads, The New Trocadero. There are posters plastered on the doors with the name of a band Donnie has never heard of. The club used to be called The Trocadero, but has since changed hands. It seems like the only thing updated since the 90s is adding the word new to the name. At the ticket counter, a woman with raccoon makeup pushes his cash back through the slot. No cash, cards only. No cash? Times have changed, Donnie says. When I used to play here, Phil only took cash, helped with the tax man. He winks at the woman. She doesn't take the bait and ask when he played there or seem to have any idea who he is. They take a seat at the bar. Donnie revels in the familiar pound reverberating in his chest from the bass drum, the distortion pedal on the guitar tingling his fingers and toes. Reeves asks him a question, but it's impossible to have a conversation amid 100 decibels. Let's talk at a break in their set, Donnie says, cupping his hand near Reeves's ear. They have a couple beers, look around. It's a small crowd for a Friday night, a smattering of people at tables. The band is doing originals, which never goes over well when you're starting out. Donnie drinks some more, then heads to the bathroom. He smiles when he sees that the urinals still have giant photos hanging over them of women laughing hysterically as they point down. Back at the bar, they watch the band some more. Donnie should have brought his earplugs, since the doctor has warned him he can't afford much more damage to his hearing. But no way he was showing up to the troc like some old man. "Finally," Reeves says when the band takes 5. Donnie smiles. "This used to be my life at the beginning, going club to club, often with only a few people in the crowd. This is where we played our first show." Reeves nods. He's not taking notes, but he's always on the clock, Donnie realizes. This is only backstory, a feel for his subject's life. The bartender comes over, asks if they want another round. Donnie nods, says, "Hey, you see that picture?" The bartender turns, looks at a black and white on the back wall. "That's me, back when Phil owned the place." With zero enthusiasm, the bartender says, "Cool." It's going to be one of those nights when Donnie's reminded of a truism in life. No one cares. "How old were you when you played here?" Reeves asks. Donnie doesn't need to think on it. It was a few months after leaving Savior House. 14. No one cared you were underage? Back then? Shoot, they didn't care about anything. You were on your own. I mean, you'd left Savior House by then. How the hell does Reeves know the name of the group home? The guy definitely does his research. Yep, we crashed in the van or with girls we met on the road, or sometimes the house bands would put us up. Why'd you take the leap and leave the group home? Donnie shrugs. It was time, he replies vaguely. Funny story, when you open for other bands, the drummers often share their kits to avoid having to set up and sound check and all that, since drums are tricky. He takes a drink, grins. So the second time we played here, our drummer left his kit in the van, and when we came out after the show, the windows were smashed and it was gone. But there was this guy sitting on the curb, and we asked if he saw who took them. He said he thought so and might be able to get them back for us. Reeves seems uninterested, but Donnie keeps going. So the guy leaves, and when he comes back about 10 minutes later, he says for $200 he can get the drums back. We'd only made $90 for the show for all of us, but we had no choice and gave him all our cash. Did you get the drums back? Oh yeah, he gave us an address and we found them in a boarded-up row house down the block. But that's the funny thing. When we told the house band what happened, the dudes all laughed and said the guy who'd got our drums back was in on the whole thing. He and his crew did this like twice a week to out-of-town bands. Donnie bellows a laugh. The guy made his living selling drummers back their own equipment. Next, he tells Reeves about Tom climbing the speakers to the balcony and leaping off into the outstretched arms of the audience, about drinking with the boys from Cinderella at this very bar, about the bouncers of the club wearing shirts that said, "Troc Crew, fuck you," and the regulars responding with, "Fuck you, Troc Crew," shirts of their own. The hum of an amp through the PA signals that the band's about to go back on. Reeves seems to be bracing himself. That's when Donnie sees him. Sitting at one of the tables, he catches Donnie's eye and gives him a nod. The FBI agent from the hospital, the one asking about Donnie's fall from the ship, the one investigating Ben's murder. Agent Rodrigo. Or was it Rodriguez? What in the hell is he doing here? Is he following Donnie? And why would he be doing that? A woman appears. She's holding a pen and a napkin. "Can you sign this for me?" Rockstar Donnie instinctively says, "I'll do anything you want, darling." The sound of those words, the familiarity of it all, makes Donnie's hand shake, his heart palpitate. "Donnie, are you okay?" Reeves says, a concerned look on his face. "I need to go," Donnie says. He thinks he's going to be sick. Not from the booze, but from the terror.
Chapter 36. Jenna. Jenna pulls into a McDonald's parking lot. She gets some looks at her gown heading into the place, but soon she's out of the bathroom and into the black athletic gear. She carries the Elisab gown in the garment bag, and her stomach growls again. It's the smell of the grease. She decides a cheeseburger and hot fudge sundae are in order. She smiles, thinking about Simon. On many a family road trip, Jenna lamented about how McDonald's ice cream machines are always broken. Ever the analytical mind, Simon researched it. It turns out it wasn't Jenna's imagination. Simon explained that the machines require a complicated 4-hour cleaning regimen daily, and often employees don't have the time. Also, the machines require specialized training to repair them, so getting someone in to fix them takes time. A heavy sadness overcomes her, but she beats it back. She orders her food. Of course, the machine isn't working tonight. She takes the white bag and sits in the car and inhales the burger. She can already feel the grease saturating her pores, but damn, it's good. She starts the car and heads down Wisconsin Avenue. She stops when she sees a Salvation Army store. It has a metal receptacle for donations out front. She pulls over and shoves the gown and shoes inside. Maybe someone shopping will find a gem, or at least something they can sell online. A half hour later, she makes it to Cabin John Parkway, then to River Road, and finally to Highland Farm Road and its horse fences and old-growth trees. She passes the estate and sees that it's lit up. Someone in the security hut peers at the car. No one travels this road unless they're visiting the estate. There's a gate and a stretch of lawn, then another tall iron fence. The first lawn serves as a security moat for extra protection. Most intruders wouldn't make it to the second fence alive. She takes a left and travels about a mile and pulls the car onto a side road surrounded by woodland. She kills the lights. In the dark, her mind flashes to an image of Willow's terrified face on the dirt road. Could that have been only last night? Jenna gets out, stretches. She tucks the gun in the waist of her leggings. It's uncomfortable, but there's nothing to be done about it. Then she starts her jog. The night is moonlit and air crisp. Like Chevy Chase, where Jenna lives, Potomac, Maryland isn't far from downtown D.C., but it feels like it is. Fresh air, large compounds, a sheltered life for the kids. She's exhausted, and the running doesn't revive her like usual. No amount of endorphins can regenerate her after all that's happened. She reaches the road leading to the estate. At the edge of the iron fencing, she finds the darkest spot and scales the barrier. Years of gymnastics before her parents died, supplemented by field training from Sabine, still come in handy. But this is the decorative security. She needs to survive the moat, then get over the second fence. Stalking low to avoid the obvious spots for motion lights or alarms, she makes it across the well-manicured lawn and to the next barrier fence. She looks up at the razor wire. This one won't be so easy to scale. She spots the guard station and the outline of 2 figures on the roof of the estate. That's when she hears the growl behind her. She turns slowly. 2 Dobermans stand erect, baring teeth. Jenna smiles. Axel? The first dog tilts its head to the side. Slash, she says to the other. It's me, my babies. The 2 dogs charge her. Now she's on the ground, the beasts licking her, their nubs for tails moving 1,000 miles an hour. She helped raise them as puppies. There's another stab of anguish, thinking about her family's dog Peanut Butter. She snuggles the Dobermans, tries to quiet them when she hears the creak of the security fence coming to life, an SUV pulling into the compound. If she can make it before the gate closes, she can slip in. But there's no chance she'd go unseen. The vehicle pulls to a stop on the half-circle driveway. 2 beefy men get out of the SUV and open the back door. Out steps Michael. He's put on some weight, but still looks svelte. The front door to the estate opens. A woman stands in the doorway. Even from this distance, Jenna can see she's beautiful, but that's not a surprise. What takes Jenna aback is the 2 kids, 3 or 4 years old, standing in front of the woman in their PJs. The kids barrel out the door. Michael crouches low on the front walk and scoops them up as they hit him running full speed. He twirls them around and around, and they giggle. And a fragment of Jenna's heart breaks. He'd always told Jenna that kids were off the table. It's then she feels the violent tug of a black bag being forced over her head.
Chapter 37. Nico. Nico lies on the hotel room bed, doom-scrolling through his social media feed. Davis has already hosted a special edition of The Black about the incident. His accompanying posts remind everyone that mining is one of the world's most dangerous jobs. No shit. Nico searches hashtags for Maverick to see if there are any photos of him with the mysterious woman who may have drugged him and used his phone to lure Nico to Mine B. Nico never got a good look at the woman, but Maverick said she was young, hot. Who is she, and what in the hell was that weapon? His shoulder still throbs. He hasn't taken the pain meds since this morning. He doesn't like how they make him feel. He gets his high from putting it all down on black or 100-to-1 odds. His thoughts go to Natalie, the FBI asking her questions at her school. He's feeling a flight instinct. Should he go to Ben's funeral tomorrow? It's risky, but he owes it to Ben. He leans back, puts his hands under his pillow. His thoughts drift to Ben and one of the nights that changed all their lives. "Have you seen Annie?" Nico asks Jenna. She's washing dishes, finishing her chores, which are on the schedule Mr. Brood tacks up on a bulletin board every Friday to ruin their weekends. Jenna shakes her head, suds crawling up her arms from dinner duty for the younger kids. Nico thought he'd blown it with Annie after the park incident. Watching a guy get a beatdown isn't exactly catnip for the ladies. But afterward, she told Nico that he'd been brave, kissed him on the cheek, and she's wearing the necklace he'd bought for her from the street vendor. He hopes it won't turn her neck green. Today at lunch, he won $20 playing dice behind the portable classrooms in the back of the school, so in science class, he passed Annie a note and asked if she wanted to go to the movies, his treat. He waited eagerly as she read the note, tucked a strand of hair behind an ear, and glanced back at him. The note made its way down the assembly line of kids, and when he opened it, his heart tripped. Only if it's a date. So he picked wildflowers in the abandoned lot, washed his best jeans and t-shirt, showered, even though it wasn't his assigned day, and waited for her to come downstairs. When she never did, he checked her room, the bathroom, the kitchen. He's feeling anxious. Marta never came back. But he just saw Annie at school, and Ned Flanders told Artie that the foster care people said they'd found Marta, placed her in a new home. But maybe the foster care people are lying, covering for Mr. Brood because his brother runs this town. Nico needs to shake it off. He's being paranoid. He needs to get it together. He pushes open the door to Donnie's room and finds him jamming like a madman on his guitar, his eyes closed, headphones over his ears since Mr. Brood has forbidden him playing through the amp, a rule Donnie breaches whenever possible. Donnie's eyes pop open. He stops strumming and yanks off the headset with a smile. "Look at you, handsome." Donnie loves nicknames. Eyeing the flowers, he says, "Holy crap, you clean up nice. You finally got the nerve to ask, huh?" Nico nods. "Have you seen her? The movie starts in 20 minutes. It takes 15 to walk there." "She got a call and hurried out. I thought she was going to see you," Donnie says. "Hey, I got something for you." He stands, the guitar dangling by its strap as he trudges over to his footlocker. He opens it and starts digging around. "Benny got this for me when I went out with Amber that time. It's a small bottle of cologne, likely swiped from Rite Aid. Donnie approaches, opens his eyes wide like he's asking for permission. Nico half smiles, nods, and feels a spritz of CK1 settle around him. She's probably out front, Donnie smiles, waggling his brows. Don't do anything I would do. On the porch, Nico finds Ben and Artie huddled, talking in whispers. Ben wears a devastated expression when he gets a look at Nico holding the flowers. Hey, have you seen Annie? Asks Nico. Ben and Artie lock eyes, then turn their gazes to Nico. What? Nico asks. I'm sorry, man, Artie says, putting a hand on his shoulder. Sorry about what? Then Ben says it. It's happened again. Nico remembers the tears rolling down his cheeks. She's gone.
Chapter 38. Jenna. Jenna is tied to a chair, a black bag over her head, as expected. She listens closely. The men speak in whispers, but she can tell that someone new is in the room. Based on the short distance they dragged her, the chirp of crickets, the smell of oil, she thinks it's a shed or garage. The voice says, "Okay, let's get a look at her." The hood is yanked off. Yep, she's in a garage. A huge space that houses a fleet of vintage cars and several motorcycles. The chair she's strapped to is on top of a large sheet of plastic. Never a good sign. An aluminum table, it looks like something you'd see in an operating room, stands nearby with what appear to be instruments of torture neatly aligned upon it. It's then that she sees the man's cocksure smile, the same smile as when they first met nearly a decade ago. They'd been assigned to play an American couple on vacation in Berlin, to bring about the demise of a banker with a long history of working with individuals on terrorist blacklists. All their kissing and canoodling went from acting to authentic somewhere along the way. They spent 5 years pretending it could work between them. She'd wanted to take it to the next level, wanted a normal life, to get out of the corporation, get married, have kids. That wasn't who he is, he'd told her. Yet here he is, with a wife and 2 kids. He walks up to her, crouches to eye level, his lips near hers. You coming to kill me? She stares at him a long moment. Are you dead? He smiles, steps back. I miss that confidence. And I know you're not here for me. Why's that? Because I've been expecting you. Sabine called you? He releases a small laugh, shakes his head. No. How is the old bird? Jenna doesn't answer. He lets out a sigh. It's pretty obvious why you're here. You'll remember I'm one of the few people who's read your file. I know where you're from, know about your foster family. She shakes her head like she hasn't the foggiest. She doesn't. Michael scrutinizes her for a minute. You really don't know, do you? Know what? Michael looks at the 2 men standing at attention near the doors. Give us the room. The men disappear. Jenna jostles her arms, gives an annoyed look at the zip ties securing her wrists. Michael's men restrained her either as a matter of protocol or because they didn't know who she is. Michael picks up a scalpel from the aluminum table and approaches. He slips the razor-sharp blade under the zip tie, popping it off. He turns the scalpel, holding the blade now, offering her the haft. She takes it, cuts off the tie on her other wrist, then the ones on her ankles. He knows what she can do with a blade. If he wanted her dead, he would have never given it to her, confirming again that it's not the corporation out to kill her. I take it you haven't caught the news lately, he says. I've been a little preoccupied, running for my life, protecting my family. He nods. Yes, and what a lovely little family you've adopted. Can you quit with the games? What's going on? Michael smiles again, as if admiring her cutting through the shit, like she used to. Cable news has been on a tear about a certain federal judge who was murdered. A rock star who fell off a cruise ship, a TV producer in a blown-up mine, and the pièce de résistance, an assassination attempt on Artemis Templeton. She processes this. Ben became a federal judge. Donnie a rock star. She'd even seen Nico on an advertisement for some cable TV show. It can all mean only one thing. Someone is targeting the kids from Savior House. The same someone who extorted her into taking a shot at Artemis. Who? Michael shrugs. Jenna stands, rubs her wrists, which are still indented from the zip ties. Come on, Michael. You know all the contractors, all the jobs. As Sabine would say, Michael says in a mocking French accent, I'm sorry, mon chéri, no clue. Her mind is spinning, running through the who's and why's. The contractor is a woman, Jenna says. In her 20s, pretty, cheekbones. She uses a strange weapon. Jenna describes what happened. Being coerced to target Artemis, not taking the kill shot, the woman coming after her at Willow School, killing the hipsters, tracking her and Willow on the way to the cabin. I can ask around. I don't know any professionals who'd be foolhardy enough to target Artemis Templeton, one of the richest men in the world, much less be dumb enough to go after you. She walks up to him now, looks him in the eyes. She's going to say something about his family, but decides against it. She realizes she doesn't care. She has her own family. The corporation isn't after me. It's a statement, not a question. Nope. She believes him. He could be lying, but he wouldn't have freed her. Sabine wouldn't have let her leave that party alive. Most important, the corporation doesn't screw up. And this hitter not only let Jenna and Artemis escape, but also botched 2 other jobs. You can stay in the guest house tonight if you'd like. He looks at her like he thinks she needs a good night's sleep. You'll be safe here. She nods. I need new papers, in case mine are compromised. And a better gun, he says, dismissing her compact Remington on the aluminum table. That too. He nods. Thank you, Michael. The pleasure is all mine. I'm glad it's not you, Jenna says. This time, it's she who offers the sideways grin. I would have hated having to kill you.
Chapter 39. The Twins. Casey sits at the bar at the Philadelphia Airport Embassy Suites. The man wears a wedding ring, but the fact that he's lingering at the bar speaks volumes. The bartender is a heavy-set woman with seen-it-all eyes. The guy wears a suit with no tie, like he ripped it off after a long day. Probably has an early flight tomorrow. Why else stay at this dump? The bar is full. There's a group of 4 at the far side, people of varying ages, but they don't look like a family. The lone woman in the group stares at her phone. The guys are talking about sports, a business trip, forced friendships on the road. The man keeps stealing looks at her. She decides to take the first step. She smiles back. It's that simple. She wants a gin on the rocks, but orders another tonic water. She reaches into her handbag for the captive bolt and feels a sense of calm at the cool metal cylinder in her grip. Soon enough, the guy is walking over, asks if he can take the seat next to hers. He hasn't bothered to remove the wedding ring, just as well. 20 minutes later, she laughs at something stupid he says again. She says she's from the Midwest. Traffic here is terrible. Did he drive? He confirms that he has what she needs. A rental car. Complains about the return desk being closed when he arrived tonight. She downs her tonic water like it's vodka, feigns the sloppy demeanor of one too many, and puts her mouth to his ear. Your room? He pays the tab quickly. She tells him to meet her outside the restroom that's off the lobby. They walk out together and she goes into the restroom. Haley comes out of a stall. She's wearing an outfit identical to Casey's. About time. Meet me in the parking lot in 15, Casey says. Make sure everyone sees you at the bar. Casey takes the long jacket from her sister, puts it on. She then puts on the baseball cap. The guy has enough drinks in him that he won't even notice. Casey leaves the restroom, puts her head down in case there are cameras, but she thinks they're only in the main areas, and links her arm around the man's as they head to his room. Haley will go make an appearance at the bar so the cameras there, she saw too, capture her returning without the guy. Any police reviewing the footage will think she returned to the bar and the guy left on his own. In a few days, they'll find the stolen Camaro in the lot, but won't connect it to this dipshit. She doesn't need to kill him. She can slip something in his drink, like she did to that coal mine dude in West Virginia. Then she'll take his rental car. But maybe she'll have a little fun first. Tie him up, scare him a little. If he calls the police, the only thing he'll likely remember will be the thing she often asks to elicit fear. Did you know that studies show there are 6 distinct types of screams?
Chapter 40. Jenna. It's a gloomy morning. Jenna weaves the motorcycle through beltway traffic, racing along the shoulder when vehicles come to a standstill. Michael lent her the BMW M1000RR, and it takes all her restraint not to twist its throttle to the limit. But it's been years since she jetted on 2 wheels, and she's rusty. The last time was to evade the police on the lawless highways of Quezon City in the Philippines. Also, she's a mom now, and she's more mindful of safety. All night, her thoughts were on her friends from Savior House. Ben, Donnie, Nico, Marta, Annie. In that moment, she's balancing on the handlebars as Nico pedals the BMX bike on the bumpy sidewalk until they skid to a stop in front of the Chestertown police station. Ben pulls up next to them on another bike, Donnie holding on to Ben's shoulder as he stands precariously on the bolts that stick out from the back axle. They've decided they need to do something, make some noise about the missing girls, lest they too disappear one by one from Savior House. They're all angry, and Nico's devastated over Annie's disappearance. The officer working the front desk seems skeptical, and Nico loses his cool. Says if his missing friends worked at a donut shop, the cops would find them. Ben smoothed things over, and a half hour later, the 4 are taken to an interview room. The policewoman who takes the report is nice enough. She seems troubled, steps out to speak with someone. When she returns, she's with a man. He doesn't wear a uniform, and must be a detective or something.
Hi, kids. Thanks for coming in. I want you to know that I'm personally going to be looking into this. It was brave of you to come forward.
Jenna feels a weight lifted from her. Someone is going to do something. Maybe they're wrong and Marta and Annie and the others are safe and sound. At new foster homes, where they found relatives to take them in.
How about I give you a ride home?
The detective asks.
We have our bikes,
Ben says.
No problem. They'll fit in the car.
10 minutes later, the 4 are jammed into the back of the Crown Vic, a metal grille separating them from the front seat. The detective says,
Sorry to put you in the back like criminals, but this will remind you to keep out of trouble.
He turns his head, offers a smile.
No doubt,
Donnie says, seeming to enjoy the experience. Ben and Nico exchange a glance, appear concerned about something. Jenna doesn't understand why, until the car pulls through an underpass that borders a sludge-filled area near the Delaware River.
Detective?
Ben says, as the area turns darker, shaded from the underpass.
This isn't the way to Savior House. I think you might have the wrong address.
The detective doesn't say anything in response. Jenna doesn't understand what's happening, but her heart accelerates when she sees the fear in Ben's face. Donnie's brow is creased, as if he's baffled. Nico is fiddling with a coin, his face drained of color. The detective gets out of the car. He opens the trunk. The 4 twist around, and through the gap, Jenna can see he's removing the bikes. Carrying a bike in each hand, he marches to the riverbank. He then does something that takes Jenna's breath away. He throws the bikes into the water. Donnie says,
What in the hell is he?
His words are choked off as the detective charges back to them. He has his blazer jacket pushed back so his holster is on display, his hand resting on the top of the pistol's butt. He opens the back door. "Get out." His voice isn't nice anymore, like he's a different person. Donnie climbs out first, Jenna sliding over after him. Ben and Nico don't emerge immediately.
"Don't make me ask again,"
the detective says. Ben finally steps his long legs out of the vehicle and stands, Nico right behind him. The detective still has his hand resting on his holster.
"Walk,"
he says, looking toward the river. They don't move.
"Walk, goddammit,"
he says. Fear cloaks every part of Jenna. She and the boys walk slowly toward the river. She should run. They should all jet off in different directions. He can't get all of them. But it's an isolated area, grim and barren, and there's nowhere to run. They reach the river's edge, near where the detective threw the bikes in the water.
"On your knees, all of you."
"Sir," Ben says, fear in his voice. "We don't know anything. We don't have a problem. You don't have to—"
"Shut up."
They lower to their knees. Jenna's heart is in her throat. She has never experienced so much fear in her life.
"You want to end up like your missing friends?"
the detective says. "No, sir," Ben says. Jenna shakes her head, unable to speak. A whimper comes from Donnie. Nico's eyes are closed.
"You think anyone's gonna miss a junkie whore's kid? A kid whose father's in prison for killing his mom? A kid whose only relatives died in a car wreck? The kid of one of O'Leary's rejects?"
They don't respond, fear commandeering every part of them.
"Then you drop this. You understand?"
Jenna manages a nod. She thinks she hears Ben say something. Another yes, sir, maybe.
"Or the next time, it won't only be the bikes going in the water. Do you understand me?"
When there's silence, he yells,
"Do you understand me?"
All four manage some form of affirmation. Jenna hears the sound of steps on soft ground, then the sound of a car engine. Soon she feels Ben's arms around all of them. Jenna is torn from the memory by the chime of the smartphone Michael gave her through the speakers in her motorcycle helmet. She reaches a gloved hand into the leather jacket, another gift from her ex, and manages to answer in time. He also gave her a messenger bag, which he called a bag of goodies. She can only imagine what's inside.
"You in Philly yet?"
Michael's voice says, sounding crystal clear in the helmet's expensive Bluetooth system. Michael always loved his toys.
"Still about an hour out."
"Huh, the way you drive, I thought you'd be there already." She doesn't reply. She doesn't need any more nostalgic trips back to her days in the corporation. Her days with him.
"My guy's got some intel on your hitter,"
he says.
"Who is she?" "No one knows much. She came out of nowhere. Basically put out a shingle on the dark web. Billed herself as a low-cost, lower-ethics provider."
"An amateur. That explains the screw-ups," Jenna says. Wet work is much more than pulling a trigger. It requires skill, professionalism, and experience.
"Your contacts know how to find her?"
"No such luck. So your plan seems to be the best one. Let her find you." Jenna thinks her foster brothers will attend Ben Wood's funeral in Philly. That's probably the best bait she can hope for, if the hitter is still after them. She careens around a semi too fast. Glancing at the speedometer, she realizes she's going 90. The thought of the woman who threatened her family causes her blood to run hot. She slows the bike.
"Thank you,"
she says.
"You can thank me by taking care of your problem without it taking care of you."
"Oh, don't you worry about me."
"Well, I will. Because here's the thing. My people all heard the same thing about this chick."
It's not like Michael to refer to women in such a way. Jenna listens.
"That she isn't doing jobs for the money, or ideology, or the usual reasons."
He pauses.
"She's doing it for the sport."
Chapter 41. Donnie. A commotion at the front of Philadelphia's Old Pine Street Church that morning causes mourners to spin around in their pews and the reporters stationed by news vans in the makeshift media village outside to perk up. Donnie feels the eyes of them all as he's being forcibly removed by two men in plain clothes identifying themselves as U.S. Marshals. "Chill," one of them keeps saying to Donnie, who's jerking around, shouting, making a spectacle of himself. "This is not how to respect your friend's memory," the other marshal says. They're holding his arms tight, but there's no menace in their faces. They're trying to de-escalate. Maybe it's because they know cameras are filming them, but he senses that they're decent dudes and don't want to arrest him. He's already made a fool of himself, so he considers doubling down and fighting more. The hotel minibar had mostly whiskey, which always makes him aggressive for some weird reason. But he releases the tension in his arms, extinguishes any fight left in him. It's the sadness that ravages him, not being able to say his piece, his tribute to the best friend he's ever had. Not being able to say goodbye to the kid who saved him over and over and over again. From the abuse. From himself. He'll never forget Mia's face, twisted with anger, when she called the marshals over. Worse, Belle's confused expression, unsure why Uncle Donnie was acting this way. The two marshals escort him through the massive doors and down the steps of the porticoed entrance. They release him on the brick sidewalk on Pine Street and make clear they're watching to make sure he doesn't do anything stupid. Donnie retreats. He needs another drink, needs something to stop this pain in his heart. He walks down Pine and into the cemetery. It's an old one, with headstones so ancient they're covered in moss, the inscriptions worn off. When he and Benny were kids, they'd play kick the can at the old cemetery in Chestertown. They'd hide behind the tombs and in the overgrown weeds. The graveyard was nothing like this one, with its well-maintained grounds. A good number of the Chestertown tombstones were kicked over or covered with graffiti. He remembers that Annie was superstitious and wouldn't play there. She'd do this funny thing where she'd hold her breath when they'd walk past the cemetery, as if a spirit might get inside her if she breathed in. Why does everything remind him of that time in his life? Of Benny and the kids at Savior House? It starts to rain, which is about right. Donnie hears someone call his name. More with the Mr. Danger nonsense. The rain is matting his hair on his face and he brushes it aside with his hand. An unfamiliar young woman with a large black umbrella approaches. She's dressed in matching black with a strand of pearls laced around her delicate neck and seems to have followed him out of the church. She looks him directly in the eyes, projecting what seems to be empathy. "I'm sorry about what happened at the service." She glances back to the scene of Donnie's latest humiliation. "The judge wouldn't have liked that." She pauses, explains. "I'm Zola. I was Judge Wood's law clerk." Donnie stands there in the rain, not sure what there is to say. "He talked about you a lot." The young woman gives a tentative smile. This surprises Donnie for some reason, the thought of Benny talking about him to his law colleagues. Donnie's always assumed that he was a secret, an embarrassment to Benny. The woman continues. "He told us how the first thing you did after your record became a hit was pay his college tuition." Donnie feels a tear spill from his eye. Remembering Benny protesting about the money, he was so proud and wanted to make it on his own steam. Donnie insisted, saying, "Better the money goes to your education than up my nose." He was only half kidding, but he thinks it's the reason Benny accepted the gift. "He had your first album framed in Chambers, a photo of you both when you were boys," Zola says. This nearly levels him. Now Zola's eyes well up. "He called me that day." Donnie studies her. What day, he wonders. The day Ben was killed? "He made me promise that if anything happened to him, I'd tell you something. I told the FBI about it, but I don't know if they told you, so I wanted to." Her voice trails off. The hairs rise on Donnie's arms and the back of his neck. His eyes tell her to continue.
He said to say you're the bravest person he's ever met. His brother.
From another mother, Donnie says, finishing the familiar sentence. Zola offers a sad smile. Donnie's chest shudders, tears mix freely with the rain on his face.
And he said, and I didn't understand this part, but he said you would.
Donnie's eyes lock on Zola's as the wind dimples her umbrella.
He said to tell you that you all had it wrong. The proof is with Boo Radley.
Chapter 42. Jenna. From the street, behind the shield of her motorcycle helmet, Jenna watches the man at the cemetery. He was hard to miss, given the spectacle he created outside the church. Her heart aches, remembering the boy he was. So sweet, so fragile. She wasn't at Savior House for long, but long enough to succumb to Donnie's charm. The rain's coming down in a mist, and she wipes the helmet's shield with her hand. A woman holding an umbrella is speaking to him. He seems devastated. Even from this distance, she can see it on his face. A similar expression she remembers from a rainy night 25 years ago on a patch of misery in Chestertown. She watches as the two finish their conversation and head in different directions. The woman with the umbrella returns to the service. Donnie plods through the tombstones, lost in his head, in despair. There's no sight of the killer, the young woman who should be in college and going to parties, cheering on the football team, cramming for finals, but has chosen a life of murder for hire. Jenna glances over her shoulder. The town car is still at her 6. The same car was lingering near the church earlier. Is the female assassin inside? No, she doubts that. Even an amateur wouldn't be so obvious. The car is making its presence known, as if to signal that the occupant isn't intending any harm. We'll see about that. Grasping the handgun in her jacket pocket, she supposes it's time. She climbs off the motorcycle, but she doesn't remove the helmet. Her eyes follow Donnie as he disappears down the street. He won't be hard to find later. The town car doesn't follow Donnie. Yeah, it's definitely here for her. Jenna crosses the street. The car turns on its lights. She grips the gun, walking toward the car head-on, which is now slowly heading her way. A game of chicken. She scans the area, the escape routes, the places to take cover if bullets fly. But her instincts tell her there's no threat. The car edges closer. She keeps walking. Then the town car jerks to a stop. The driver gets out. He has the unmistakable bulge of a firearm holstered at his chest under his suit jacket. He walks slowly, deliberately to the back door and opens it. He gestures for her to get inside. Jenna takes off her helmet, shakes out her hair. The gun is still clutched tight in her right hand. She peers inside the vehicle. "It's been a long time," is all the man says. And with that, she gets inside.
Chapter 43. Nico. Nico stuffs his clothes in his travel bag and proceeds to the hotel's counter to check out. He hates Philadelphia, hates Pennsylvania. When he was a kid, he swore he'd leave and never come back. West Virginia isn't exactly paradise, but it's not here. He needs to get back to his life and the show before Davis steals his job, before the FBI calls him in for questioning and his life really falls apart. He would have left last night if there'd been any flights out. He feels bad about missing Ben Wood's funeral, but it is what it is. Out front to catch a cab, he's taken aback by the mob and the blinding light of camera flashes. The paparazzi shout questions at him. "Nico, is it true the explosion was intentional? Nico, how are you feeling? Nico, are you afraid for your life? Nico, are you worried a deranged fan is after you?" He shields his eyes with his hand, and his mind jumps back to Mine B, the bright light on his attacker's miner's helmet. He says, "No comment," and pushes his way to the cab. "Come on, Nico," a paparazzo says. "Give us something. Don't be an asshole for once in your life." Nico looks at him. "My dad didn't teach me much, but he said there's one great thing about everyone thinking you're an asshole." The paparazzo waits for him to explain. "You get to act like one. Now fuck off." He gets inside the car. The cabbie blares his horn, moving slowly through the photographers crowding the street in front of the Ritz. Nico puts in his earbuds, calls Shannon at the show. "Hey, it's me," he says when the showrunner answers. "Hey, I'm so glad you called. It's been crazy here." She sounds like she's walking. Shannon is always on the move, dealing with problems on the set. "The sheriff announced that the explosion was intentional and the press went bananas." "Yeah, that's what I assumed based on the mob outside my hotel. How in the hell did they find me in Philly?" "No idea. It wasn't me." Nico lets out a breath. "It'll calm down. The news cycle will turn to something else." "I don't know about that," she says. Nico shakes his head. No point in debating it. "I'm headed back. You should start thinking about some shows or special episodes about the mine collapse that we can milk for." "I don't know that the network is going to let you come back," she cuts in. "What do you mean?" "That motherfucker Davis. Or maybe it's the show's insurer. If they think someone's trying to kill Nico, it's a liability issue for the network." "I don't know, but they said you're on paid leave." "Well, that's the first I've heard of it." "I'll try to find out more, but that's all I know. And that the FBI served a warrant for the records on your company cell phone." "For my phone?" Nico's heart rate accelerates. "Yeah, and an agent interviewed me. Asked all kinds of weird questions. Something about some judge in Philly you knew when you were a kid. Also, they asked about Donnie Danger. You remember him from Tracer's Bullet?" Donnie. That's a name he hasn't heard in years. His mind ventures to the bank of the Delaware River, Ben hugging them all after the crooked detective terrorized them. "What about him?" "You haven't seen the news? He fell off a cruise ship, was lost at sea, and somehow survived. The FBI agent asked if I knew about your friends from when you were a kid." "You knew Donnie Danger?" She says this with humor in her voice. She continues. "They asked about your vacation last month, where you went and what I knew about your childhood." Nico's heart is in free fall. You don't have to watch many TV cop shows to know that if they have your phone records, they know more about you than your parents, your spouse, or your closest friends. They know your search history, your photos, your social media posts, your dating life, your diet, your music preferences. And they know with GPS precision the coordinates of every place you've traveled. That causes an electrical current of fear to prickle every one of Nico's nerves. He ends the call and gets the cabbie's attention. "Change of plans. Can you take me to Chestertown?" "Where?" "It's in Delaware County, about an hour away." The guy is tapping the GPS on the phone mounted to his windshield as he drives. Then he says, "It'll cost $200. It's a long way and I won't get any fares on the way home." "That's fine." Nico needs to get there before the feds. If they track his movements, then it's all over for him, regardless of whether the crazy woman with the tube weapon ever finishes the job.
Chapter 44. Jenna.
"It seems someone is upset with us,"
Artemis Templeton says to Jenna. They sit in the dim light of the town car. He looks older than in the photoshopped magazine and newspaper images, or the crosshairs of a sniper rifle. But not bad, all things considered. Particularly since he probably hasn't been sleeping well since someone tried to make that bald head explode like a watermelon dropped from a rooftop. She thinks about the odd boy she briefly knew. The kid with the unusual cadence in his voice, the wooden posture. He still has that distant look in his eyes, like he's operating on another level than everyone else. But the bald head suits him. His business suit is well-tailored, and it's hard to imagine he's the same kid who wore short-sleeved shirts buttoned all the way to the collar and seemed to model his look on that of his childhood mentor, a neighborhood man the kids called Ned Flanders. Jenna doesn't answer. She doesn't know how much he knows, and whether he's aware that she was one of the shadowy assassins who caused those dark circles under his eyes. Though she suspects he at least knows she was with the corporation. It would explain this meeting. "I suppose we can't chalk all this up to coincidence," she says. "Someone after all four of us?" He raises his brows in agreement.
"Hard to believe it's been so long."
Another life, she wants to say, but doesn't. He waves a manila folder in his hand.
"I imagine you've been asking yourself the same question I have. Who?"
"Why would I be doing that?" He frowns, as though he doesn't have time for games.
"You didn't fall off a ship or get trapped in a mine, but no one's seen your family since the events of late."
"Fair enough." He hands her the folder.
"This is my security team's report on our best guess about who hired the hitter. And I recognize it's merely that, an educated guess."
Inside the folder are photos of a man. He's in a suit and looks respectable enough. There's something familiar about him. "Who is he?" she asks.
"One of Chestertown's finest," Artemis says. "The gentleman from the 5th Congressional District."
Jenna shrugs.
"You might remember him better as one of the kids we hid from at night."
Jenna examines the photo again. "Derek Brood," she says. The name still gives her the creepy crawlies. Artemis nods.
"After his father disappeared, he was raised by his uncle, the mayor of Chestertown. The Broods have run that armpit of a town for decades. That didn't change after we left."
Jenna nods. Artie continues.
"That's why no one followed up on the girls who disappeared. Everything was covered up by the Broods."
He gives Jenna a pointed look. She'd been one of those girls. What happened to the others? Sabine claimed that she had no hand in their disappearance, that Jenna was the only corporation recruit from Savior House. But who could be sure with Sabine? Why now, after all these years? Artemis shrugs.
"Politicians tend to be psychopaths."
"I can't believe Derek Brood's in Congress. What a disgrace." Artemis chuckles.
"Have you seen Congress lately? There's more sociopaths and carnival barkers than legislators."
Despite living in D.C., Jenna has buried her head in the sand when it comes to politics.
"As I see it, we have two choices here,"
Artemis tells her. Jenna nods for him to continue.
"We see if there's an amount he'd take in compensatory and punitive damages to back down.
Or..." Jenna knows where this is going.
"Or I give that same money to someone like you, who knows how to deal with these types of problems."
This confirms he knows about her time with the corporation. It's unsettling. But he's a billionaire, and likely has unparalleled access to intel. An entire squad of former spooks and other shadowy special operators on his payroll. It's unclear why he doesn't use his own people for such work. But maybe he can't. Can't tell them the reason for the hit. Or he wants to ensure it's not traceable to him. He leans back in the leather seat of the sedan, waits for her response. If this is about Derek taking revenge, money won't matter to him.
"Maybe,"
Artemis says, like a man who knows that money often can shift the paradigm, overcome morals, emotion, sentimentality, even family ties, particularly with the politicians who probably regularly approach Artemis with their hands out. He glances at the folder.
It should have what you need.
Jenna doesn't look at the dossier. She'll study it later. She reaches for the door handle.
There's something else,
Artemis says. Jenna sits back, waits for him to continue.
We need to be concerned about the FBI. My contacts tell me that Brood, the father, not Derek, has come to the Bureau's attention.
Jenna swallows down a dry throat. That doesn't make any sense. If Derek Brood wants us dead, why would he go to the feds about what happened to his father? He'd be the obvious suspect if we're all killed.
That's the question, isn't it?
Artemis releases a breath.
But maybe it's not Derek Brood talking to the feds.
Then who?
Only 5 people were there that night.
Yeah, and one's dead, and the rest of us are targets, and we all have something to lose. Artemis holds her gaze without blinking. He still brings to mind a robot. That's what Derek and his crew called him, wasn't it?
I'm not suggesting it's any of us. But maybe someone has been talking.
Not me.
Of course, not you.
He could be right about the others. She hasn't kept up with them. But it's possible one of them told someone. A girlfriend, a priest, an AA sponsor, someone.
We need to talk to Donnie and Nico, he says. Find out if they slipped.
We? Jenna says. Artemis's face remains expressionless.
I don't think we want me running around playing detective. It will only draw attention.
He's right, of course. What about your security team?
I'd have to tell them things we wouldn't want me to. Besides, Donnie and Nico adored you. They'll trust you.
I saw Donnie at the funeral.
He was hard to miss,
Artemis says.
He's staying at the Four Seasons. He has a friend with him. My guys put a tracker on his rental car this morning.
He hands her a smartphone. She glances at the screen and it shows a map with a blue dot. You have one of those for Nico, too?
No, but he's here too, staying at the Ritz.
Jenna nods. Just as she thought. Both of her foster home siblings came. For Ben.
Look,
Artemis says.
I think Derek Brood is behind this. If we can convince him to back off, we can make this problem go away.
Jenna thinks about this. If he won't take the money, and I have to take care of things, you can donate that money to charity. Artemis cocks his head to the side, not computing. He threatened my family. This one's on the house.
Chapter 45. Donnie. Reeves handles the driving on I-95 South. Donnie hasn't told him why they're going to Chestertown. He's not sure himself, but Ben's law clerk's words continue to echo through his head. He said to tell you that you all had it wrong. The proof is with Boo Radley. The problem? Donnie doesn't have a damn clue what that means. He has huge gaps in his memory, most caused by whiskey, vodka, tequila, and white powder, not necessarily in that order. For the life of him, nothing's ringing a bell. Maybe seeing the old haunts will jog it loose. He's not keen on traveling down memory lane, but this is for Ben. And to get the money for the book, he agreed to spend 1 full week with Reeves. The literary agent wants a draft by month's end, no doubt concerned that the clock is ticking on Donnie's 15 minutes of fame. A white work van speeds past. Donnie points at it. When we first started touring, there'd be 8 of us living in a van like that, playing dive bars across the country. We'd each get $7 a day for food. By the end, Tom had his own tour bus. There were 2 for the crew and 1 for the rest of the band. Reeves looks ahead at the road. How was that, living on the road? Nothing else like it, Hemingway. I loved it. Did you all have, homes, or? Yeah. After we went platinum the first time, everybody had a home base. I had a crib in L.A., the rest were spread out. Donnie doesn't mention that he had to sell the LA property and currently rents a studio apartment in North Hollywood. 3 of the guys were married, had kids, but we were on the road about 200 days a year. What's it like, living on a bus most of the year? It's kind of like you never grow up. Other than getting from one show to the next, we didn't have any real responsibilities. Our manager would take care of paying the bills for everybody's home base. We had only 3 rules. Reeves turns his head, like this might be something he can use for the book. Donnie ticks them off. 1, if you bring a girl on the bus, there's an ID check and an NDA gets signed. That was the result of an unfortunate incident when our bass player met a 17-year-old who lied about her age after a show in Phoenix. That was a mess. Reeves's eyes widen. Maybe don't put that part in the book, Donnie smiles. Rule 2, no number 2s on the bus. The smell gets in the vents and it's a big hassle to clean out the septic tanks. Reeves scrunches his face. I think I'll leave that out too. Understandable. And rule 3, no drugs on the bus. Donnie doesn't mention that he was the genesis of that rule, but he probably doesn't need to. Other than all that, you live for the show, then the after party, then you're on to the next town. You watch a crap load of movies. Reeves follows the GPS's voice and veers off the exit for Chestertown. Donnie feels acid crawl up his throat. It's been 25 years. Where to? Reeves asks. I suppose to where it started. 15 minutes later, the rental car pulls to the curb on the south side of Chestertown. Reeves seems to be in awe at the urban decay. A neighborhood of boarded-up homes. Unbelievably, things have gotten worse. 25 years ago, the neighborhood was on the decline, but there were still people left from before the steel, automotive, and paper factories closed. Old couples who mowed their lawns, planted flowers, maintained the exterior of their homes, fought the losing battle of their neighborhood being taken over by drugs and crime. They get out of the rental car and Donnie gestures to a boarded-up mansion that has a lopsided porch. Once upon a time, long before the town used it for a group home, it had been a grand manor. But once the factories all closed, the place, like the town, went to shit. For some reason, a memory from the tour bus comes to mind. Watching the movie Forrest Gump, the scene where Jenny throws stones at the home where she'd been abused as a kid. No rock is big enough for this place. So this is it? Where you grew up? Reeves asks. Only from when I was 12 to 14. Before that, I was with the Jensens, and before then we were in Alabama in a trailer park that made this place look like a palace. Reeves has a pad and pen and takes notes as they walk. He spins around, taking it all in. It's amazing you made it out. Donnie examines the house. Next to the front door, there's a rectangle where the paint is a different color, a plaque that read, Save Your House, used to hang there. Benny said we owed it to each other to make it out. Reeves nods, scribbles something. About Ben, Donnie says, his law clerk told me something that I can't figure out. He clues Reeves in on the cryptic message she relayed to him. Nothing's coming to Donnie. Maybe the writer will have some ideas. He leaves out the part about Ben being blackmailed. That could lead Reeves down a path Donnie doesn't want him to venture. Reeves thinks on it. Did Ben think he was in danger? Is that why he asked her to give you a message? No idea. The law clerk said she told the FBI what he said, so I'm sure they're on it. He said to tell you that you all had it wrong. What could you have gotten wrong? Donnie isn't sure about this either. And Boo Radley, Reeves says, did you all read To Kill a Mockingbird or something? Donnie shakes his head. Benny loved to read, but I've never read it. Why? Boo Radley's a character from the book. He was a mysterious neighbor of the kids in the story. They treated him like the boogeyman, but that's because they didn't understand him. Donnie thinks about this. He's racking his brain. Benny loved books, used to spend hours at the public library. Next to the tree fort they built that summer, it was his sanctuary. But Donnie doesn't remember Benny reading To Kill a Mockingbird or talking about it. Was there anyone who terrorized you when you were kids? Reeves asks. For a split second, Donnie can't breathe. He's being held underwater at the neighborhood pool. Then he's at the edge of a shallow grave. He doesn't say it, but one name comes to mind. Brood.
Chapter 46. Nico. If they track his movements, they'll find the duffel bag, and if they find the bag, he doesn't want to think about that. The proof is in the bag. The cabbie drives slowly down Patterson Street in Chestertown. It looks like a scene out of a zombie movie. Cars stripped to their frames, houses sprayed with graffiti over plywood-covered windows, litter blowing on the streets, figures ducking into the shadows. The cabbie seems nervous. He should be. Look, I was fine taking you this far from Philly, but I don't have a death wish. Friend of mine was killed on the job, and no fare's worth that. Nico says, it's just a little more up the road. Looks like the cops are tailing us. I don't want no trouble. The cabbie's eyes jump to the rear view, then back to the road. Nico twists around. There's a dark sedan that sure looks like the kind law enforcement drive. He already paid the driver. The guy insisted on collecting the fare up front, so he just needs to lose whoever's tailing them. Nico's mind goes to Natalie. The FBI was just here asking about you. To his showrunner, Shannon. The FBI served a warrant for the records on your company cell phone. That reminds him. He pulls out his phone, powers it down. Is that enough to stop the tracking? He decides to pop out the SIM card. Okay, here's what I'd like you to do, he says to the cabbie. There's an alley right up there. Pull in and I'll get out. Not a chance, pal. No way. Nico sighs. He looks around. He's back in the old neighborhood. He still knows the terrain. All right, let me out at the corner. He looks back again at the sedan crawling behind them. The cabbie stops at the intersection. Thanks for the ride. Nico jumps out and sprints toward the alley. He hears the sedan's engine rev, then its brakes screeching to a stop. He twists around. There's a tall guy in a suit running toward him. Nico turns and weaves through the alley. The old chain-link fence up ahead still has the gap cut into it. He ducks through the hole, then into what used to be Meth Head Ted's yard. The dog's gone, at least. They used to make a game of running the gauntlet without Bruno biting them in the balls. Now he's on the gravel trail behind the houses. It's a rat's maze, and the guy will never catch up with him. He hears someone shouting, but he keeps running. He's on Hardin Street now. His heart trips when he sees the old group home, and the skinny guy with long hair standing out front. But there's no time for that. He races through the lot and to the overpass. The woods are ahead. Cutting through the trees, the smell of damp earth and fallen leaves brings him back in time. He thinks he's lost the guy. He better have. He has to get there before they do, to dispose of the evidence.
Chapter 47. Jenna. 2 graveyards in one day. How morbid. This one, in Linwood, Pennsylvania, isn't as stately as the one in Philadelphia, but it's a far cry from the overgrown mess of a cemetery in Chestertown, where the Savior House kids would play. Even a graveyard was better than spending time in the group home with its dusty rooms filled with pressed wood furniture and footlockers to protect the residents' minimal belongings. She finds the gravestone, a large one for both of them. She thinks back to that night. Bowling night. The one evening her parents went out on the town. Dad had worked for Comcast. Mom stayed home and kept house, as she liked to say. It also allowed her to shuttle Jenna to her gymnastics competitions all around the Commonwealth. Dad's job didn't pay much, but they somehow scraped together the money for the classes, the leotards, the tournament entry fees. and as much as she shoved it all down, tried not to think about it, she allows herself a moment to cherish her idyllic early childhood. She was lucky to have had it, even if it was for only 15 years. Better to have loved and lost, or whatever that stupid expression is. It was all stolen in the blink of an eye, when some asshole had one too many and got behind the wheel. She pulls some weeds sprouting around the stone, brushes the marble with her hand. She feels guilty that this is the first time she's returned in 25 years. She holds back tears and the forever questions of whether they'd be ashamed of the life she's lived, or whether they'd understand she did it all to survive. She shakes it off, literally shakes her body like she's shedding the questions and the guilt and the pain. She has her own idyllic family she needs to protect now. She pulls out the burner phone Michael gave her. It's probably more secure than the one the president uses, so she decides she needs to make this call, in case things go sideways. Simon picks up on the first ring. He sounds breathless.
"Oh, thank God,"
he says. "I'm fine. How are things at the cabin?"
"I have a teenager with no internet, TV, or cell phone. How do you think?"
Jenna loves that he's being light, trying to sound normal, which she knows is for her benefit.
"We're fine. Where are you?"
Jenna doesn't answer. This will be over soon, and we can go home. There's a long silence on the other end, then a series of sentence fragments.
"Whatever you're going to do, you don't have to. I have friends at the DOJ. They can help us get—"
"I know what I'm doing, and this is probably the only way."
"Probably.
If we're right about who's behind it all, yes."
You're not sure?"
That is an excellent question from her analytical husband. Is she sure? The pieces of the puzzle fit. Who else would want all of them dead? No one from Jenna's past jobs would have any reason to take out her foster mates. It's been 25 years since Jenna had spoken to any of them, so it has to be someone from Savior House. Yet something doesn't feel right. She can't pinpoint what it is, but something's causing that tingle at the nape of her neck. I'm as sure as I can be. More silence on the other line. I'm going to take care of the problem and we'll be home soon. She can't help but think of Michael's words. You can thank me by taking care of your problem without it taking care of you.
"I love you,"
Simon says, words that send a surge of warmth through her.
"I should have said it before you left the cabin, but I was in shock, scared for the girls, and I
love you too, Simon Raines, and I'm coming home to you." Back on the motorcycle, Jenna rides to an area near the Delaware riverfront in Chestertown. She gets a Xanax-inducing wave of anxiety at the smell of that river. But she shakes it off. Her phone told her the congressional office is on Seaport Drive. She finds a place to park and locates a bench with a view of the office. She'll wait to see if he comes out for lunch. The file Artemis compiled said Derek Brood is a first-term congressman, one with ambition. He inherited his family's sanitation business and has done well for himself. Artemis's file says he goes to the same place for lunch every day, a steakhouse 5 minutes from the office. It's a good hour before Derek emerges from the glass doors of the 70s-style government building. The sight of him takes her breath away. In the photo, she noticed the resemblance to his father, but in person, it's more startling. He has the girth, the gait of the head of Savior House. Derek was always clean-cut like his father, which was helpful in hiding their menace. He has an entourage walking with him. An Asian woman, a younger white guy in a suit, and 2 body men walking behind him. Why would a Pennsylvania congressman from a poor district need muscle? It's uncanny how much he looks like his father. He was a mean-spirited kid, a bully. Could he have changed after being raised by someone else? She thinks back to a day at the park when she'd intervened when Derek was beating up Nico. Nico. She smiles, thinking of how love-struck he was with Annie, following her around like a puppy. Annie didn't act like she was into him, but she was. She proudly wore that cheap necklace Nico bought for her, talked about how sweet he was. Annie had been in the system so long that she simply didn't know how to show love. And then Annie was gone. Vanished. Jenna remembers the feeling of helplessness. Only one of them didn't lose hope after that day on the riverbank. Their knees still dirty from kneeling in the muck, thinking they were going to be executed. Ben had marched them to the public library. The incident had only hardened his resolve. The law is how you dealt with bullies like the detective, he told them. Jenna watches Ben as he scribbles notes on the scratch paper, his eyes glued to a law book he's yanked from one of the library's shelves. Donnie has slipped out to the convenience store to swipe a bottle. He's not made for more trauma. None of them is. But it's the sweet-hearted who it hits the hardest. But even Nico holds a vacant stare now, going to the bathroom every few minutes, probably to empty his guts. The detective warned them in no uncertain terms to back off. Jenna's instincts tell her that's what they should be doing, not stopping at the library trying to find out how to go after the very man who threatened to kill them. But Ben is on a mission. "Can I help?" Jenna asks Ben. "Yeah, go get me this book." He hands her a scrap of paper that's been folded like a star. She's noticed that he has the unusual habit of folding paper. There are 3 stars, and 2 scraps folded to look like flowers near where he's been reading. She looks at the star he handed her, sees he's written a library call number on it, and heads off to find the book. On the way, she sees Donnie stumble into the library. His lips are blue from that Mad Dog 2020 wine he drinks. "We gotta let this go," Donnie says. "We gotta go to the house, pack our shit, and go." His words are slurred and tinged with fear and hurt. "Come sit." She leads him to a lounge chair that has frayed arms and cushions. "I know Benny," Donnie says. "He's gonna need to go after them. Get justice." He exaggerates the word. "He said his dad went to prison for something he didn't do. He never forgave himself for not being able to stop it." Jenna understands Donnie's fear. But she thinks of Marta's eyes the night she woke up Jenna to get her safe. Annie telling off Derek at the lunchroom. They wouldn't walk away if Jenna disappeared. She watches across the library as Nico comes out of the bathroom. He says something to Ben, grabs a handful of the papers, the folded stars, then throws them on the floor and charges outside. Ben comes over to them. Jenna says, "Sorry, I didn't get the book. I needed to." "It's all right. I found what we need. We gotta get the feds interested. It's the only way to deal with corrupt local cops and officials." Jenna nods. "Is Nico okay?" Ben looks at the floor. "He's..." Ben searches for the word. "Devastated. He should be," Donnie says. "We need to drop this." His eyes are red and watering. Ben crouches low. "Look at me, you redneck." Donnie raises his glance to Ben's. "You want them to get any more of our friends?" Donnie shakes his head. "You trust me?" Donnie nods this time. "Brothers from another mother." Ben nods. "That's right. And you know what else?" Jenna watches as Donnie stares in admiration at his best friend. They're not going to get away with this.
Chapter 48. Nico. Nico traipses through the forest, branches smacking his face, the hum of insects in his ears. The old path through the weeds, the one they'd worn down trudging back and forth, isn't visible. But he knows he's headed in the right direction. He remembers the summer they built the tree fort, the sticky heat and fatigue of carrying lumber stolen from a construction site. Ben hauling more wood than all of them on his strong shoulders. And he remembers laying on the planks up high, watching the stars. Today the woods are dreary, the tree canopy making the day an even darker shade of gray. He hears a snap of twigs up ahead. Probably a deer, one of the Chestertown woods variety, thin and malnourished. There's a brief quiet from the insects, but they start up again. Whoever was chasing Nico didn't track him here, that's for sure. These woodlands are difficult to navigate, tangled and unkempt. He's on a fool's errand right now, he fears. If the FBI is running a cell tower report tracking his movements from the last time he was in Chestertown, it probably wouldn't ping out here. But he doesn't know that. So he needs to assume they know he was trudging through this same area a month ago. He sees his marker up ahead, the tree he carved with a pocket knife so many years ago. N+A. It's 2 trees behind this one. He stalks over, looks up. It's still nearly impossible to see the fort if you don't know it's there. He finds the rusty nail that served as a foothold to start the climb and hoists himself up. It's not as easy as it was when he was a kid, even worse with one arm. He's ditched the sling, but he can't put much weight on his arm or shoulder. But this needs to be done. He clasps a branch, struggles to pull himself up one-handed, swings his leg over, then stands, balancing on the huge limb. He continues to climb until he finally reaches the platform. It's 4 by 8, wide enough for them to lie flat or sit cross-legged in a circle. It has plywood walls but no roof. He remembers how Annie brought them snacks. Donnie always managed to have a bottle, hiding his stash of convenience store rot guts somewhere in the woods nearby. The summer they built the tree fort was exactly 2 summers after Mom took Nico to the beach that last time, and the only time since that he'd felt something close to happiness. Nico, Ben, Donnie, and Annie would spend hours talking and joking. Jenna hadn't been there long enough to face the initiation ritual of the Gross Club, so named by Donnie based on some comic strip he loved. Artemis was too engrossed in his coding projects to screw around in the woods. It had been their haven, their place to talk about their dreams, their place not to talk about their lives before Savior House. The place Nico fell in love for the first time. He looks up at the sky and inhales deeply through his nose. It smells the same, but the sky is murkier. Maybe it wasn't all as incandescent as he remembers. Maybe he's rosied up the memories. But that summer was the last time he felt something other than a void in his core. And it was that summer that also broke each of them. When Annie disappeared. When that cop took something from each of them at the riverbank. He remembers afterward, leaving the library pounding on Ned Flanders's door. Artie and Flanders are at the dining room table that's lined with computer monitors, the room strewn with cords. Flanders brings in a tray that has glasses of lemonade, listens as Nico rants and rages and tries not to cry. Flanders disappears to make a call. When he returns, he says, "I spoke to a different person this time, a supervisor. She told me that her records show that Marta is in a new home." Flanders pauses. "But she has no record about Annie missing or that she or the other girls are even staying at Savior House." "It's because Mr. Brood's brother got it fixed. He runs this town. Ben says we need to call the FBI." "I'll call," Flanders says, and Nico believes him. "But we need proof that the missing girls were residents of Savior House." Nico says, "You need proof? I'll get you proof." Back at Savior House, Nico ventures into forbidden territory, Mr. Brood's office. He was going to kick down the door if he needed to, but he's in luck. The door is open an inch, the lights on like Brood had just been there. He needs to be fast. He rushes to the metal file cabinet and riffles through the files. He finds a file for each of them. Nico, Ben, Donnie, but none for the girls. He goes through each drawer, but he's sure of it. There are none. His heart jumps to his throat when he hears voices. Mr. Brood talking to someone. Nico dives under the desk and balls up as Brood and another man come into the room. The door is shut loudly, and the other man sounds angry. "I don't need this headache," the man says to Mr. Brood. "You think I do? Kids from your goddamn home go to the cops? Are you fucking kidding me? I went to a lot of trouble to get you this job. You're lucky that detective owes me, and you're lucky it sounded crazy. Some lady buying girls. Is it crazy? You're the one who made the deal with these people, and I've got a bunch of kids missing." "I didn't have a choice. The corporation dealt with that problem we had during the primary." "Your opponent's sudden heart attack. Are you fucking stupid? Shut your mouth." "And I called the French lady. They say they haven't taken any of the girls. They want the new girl, but they didn't take the others." "And you believe them?" "Yeah, I do. Most of those girls went missing, under your watch, by the way, long before I got mixed up with the corporation. But it doesn't matter. It's not like we could do anything about it either way." "Whatever you say. I'm just telling you what they told me. They got no reason to lie. And you best watch your tone. Mom made me promise I'd look out for you, but what? You'll plant me and my son somewhere worse than being some babysitter at a shithole group home?" "Quit fucking whining. You get paid plenty, as long as you keep washing the cash, and don't bring any more attention to this place." Nico listens. The two men are quiet for a long time. Then, "What now?" Mr. Brood asks. "Russo will bury the report with the Chestertown squad. Maybe you and your friends keep your hands off the girls, and it'll die down." "It's your friends from Men's Club who—" "Shut up." Mr. Brood is quiet again, then asks, "What about the girl the French lady wants? It's too hot right now for another one to go missing." She said, "That's a you problem. I'm not telling these people no." "If the corporation didn't take the others, then who did?" "You think I'm fucking stupid? You promised me no more fiddling with underage girls. I worked hard to get rid of the problem last time, to get you this job around kids, for Christ's sake." "I didn't." "Shut the fuck up. They're coming for the girl Jenna tomorrow. You pack her stuff after they get here and keep the other kids in line, and keep your hands off the girls, or I swear—" The door opens, the voices trail away, and Nico knows they have no choice now. A bird squawks, bringing Nico's thoughts back to the tree fort. This mess he's in. He looks down at the planks, which are green from moss. The duffel bag, the evidence, is still here lodged in the corner. He's safe. No one knows. He sits, legs dangling over the edge, catching his breath from the climb, looking through a break in branches and leaves below. He pictures shirtless Donnie's skinny, pale torso, Ben giving him a boost to climb the tree. Nico will wait here until dark, then climb down, somehow, and get rid of the bag. As the sun lowers, he sits thinking about the surreal last 2 days, getting trapped in the mine, the rescue team showing up looking like spacemen in their oxygen masks, ruthless O'Leary flying a kite with the wonderment of a young child, Natalie telling him she never wants to see him again. And now, chased through the sprawl of Chestertown by someone. Who? The FBI? And sitting in a lopsided tree fort he helped build a quarter-century ago. Something catches his eye, a shiny object against the wall of the fort. He slides over on his rear, picks it up with his index finger and thumb, and examines it. And his heart drops. This isn't some trinket from back in the day. Isn't something Nico dropped on his last visit to the fort. It's a gold cufflink. But it's not the cufflink that causes Nico's stomach to roil, his heart to hammer. It's the initials engraved on the gold face. RBW. Robert Benjamin Wood.
Chapter 49. Donnie. Donnie and Reeves sit at a bar eating Reuben sandwiches and drinking cold beer on Bleak Street in Chestertown. Bleak is right. Reeves has only taken a couple bites and seems lost in thought. Maybe he's outlining the book, taking all the material Donnie has given him so far and organizing it into some semblance of a story. Or maybe he's still processing the conditions Donnie grew up in. The bartender asks if they want another round, and Reeves and Donnie respond simultaneously, Reeves shaking his head, Donnie nodding. Donnie laughs and says, "Okay, I'll take his drink too, darling." The bartender, she looks like a weather-beaten New Englander, cackles. Reeves says, "Anything reminding you of what Boo Radley means? Or what Ben was trying to tell you?" "Nada." Reeves seems to be caught up in the mystery. Donnie says, "I'm sure Benny read that Mockingbird book, but I don't remember him mentioning it. He read a lot of books. He'd get a pile from the library or Goodwill. I'd sometimes pinch him a new one from the drugstore." Reeves gives a nod like he's someone who understands the love of reading. Did he have a favorite book? I sometimes think that says a lot about a person. Donnie thinks on this. He liked Hemingway. This elicits a crooked grin from Reeves, perhaps tired of the nickname. Benny read a book about Hemingway and told me that the guy had said some racist and fucked up shit, but Benny still loved his books. Donnie thinks more. He also loved law books. In Philly, we used to sneak into the law library at Temple, and he'd ask the law students what they were reading and track down copies on the shelves. When Ruth arrested us for stealing food, she asked us a bunch of questions. Benny gave her a hard time about not reading him the Miranda warning and how we could tell her that we murdered someone and they'd have to throw the whole case out. He said the fruit of the poisonous tree shall set us free. He loved to rhyme. It made him sound like a famous lawyer he worshipped. Ruth was the cop who ended up adopting him? Donnie nods. She passed a few years ago. How about you, Donnie? How about me what? You have a favorite book? Damn, Hemingway, you're still trying to get inside this head? Let me spare you the trouble, boss. I ain't that deep. Reeves offers a reproachful smile. I went to Chestertown High and didn't finish 9th grade, Donnie adds. The last math class I had was called Consumer Math, where they teach you how to add up groceries and things like that. I failed Algebra 1 3 damn times. But I've read the lyrics to your songs, Donnie. Some of them, Reeves smiles, and I mean some of them, are like poetry. Why, thank you, Donnie says with a hint of sarcasm combined with genuine appreciation at the remark. I'm being serious. Okay, you want to know my favorite book? I'll tell you the only books I ever read for fun, and I'm going to regret telling you because if you put this in the book, I'm going to look like an idiot. Reeves raises his eyebrows and waits for him to continue. Benny used to get me these books that were collections of Calvin and Hobbes. The comic strip? Yeah, the one with the kid whose best friend was a tiger, but everybody else sees Hobbes as a stuffed animal. I loved those. I get it. How's that? Donnie asks, thinking Reeves may be patronizing him. There's something about seeing the absurdity of the world through the eyes of a mischievous 6-year-old that's appealing. Donnie is impressed that Reeves didn't turn up his nose. Reeves continues. I read a piece once about how Calvin and Hobbes is great literature. The comics parodied the artistic world, pondered the meaning of life, the existence of God, and the perils of mankind's self-destructive ways. Donnie chuckles. I don't know about all that, but Calvin had this tree fort that gave me the idea for hours. He raises a hand preemptively. I'm not taking you there because those woods are even scarier than the streets after dark. Reeves doesn't debate him on that. Donnie looks out the window of the bar into the gloom. Actually, the last thing Benny ever gave me was about Calvin and Hobbes. Reeves looks at him, interest piqued. On my last visit to Philly, he gave me a magazine to read on the plane home. One of those ones fancy people read. Hell, I bet your bathroom at home is full of them. The New Yorker, or one of those. They ran a short story some fella wrote, fan fiction I think they call it, about Calvin on his deathbed. In the story, Calvin's an old man and he's dying, and his wife, the girl he always battled with in the comics, brings him his stuffed tiger to the hospital to say goodbye. It's been years since Calvin has seen the real tiger any time he looks at the stuffed animal. But in his final moments, his best friend comes back to life when he needs him. Donnie's voice catches. It's hard to swallow. He notices Reeves staring at him. Donnie shakes it off. I tell you what, I was bawling my eyes out on that Spirit Airlines flight. Dude next to me thought I was crazy. Donnie pushes down the emotions. He thinks of Benny when they left Chestertown to head off on their own after that awful visit to the drug house to say goodbye to his mom. On the bus, Benny had packed one of the Calvin and Hobbes books. On its last page was the final comic strip that ever ran in the series. It showed Hobbes carrying a sled on fresh snow and saying, "The world looks brand new," and Calvin ending the script with, "Let's go explore."